We're live.
Yay! Liveness. Release partiness.
Yay!
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back to another very special episode of Unprinted Pages. This is our first anthology as a network, as the Owl Light Network. We have so many amazing people here with me today, and all of us
also
have
me.
Awesome!
No, also you. Always one of the most amazing storytellers. We have Raz T. Slasher, Kari / Dell, Parasite Steve from Retro Red Octopus. I cannot say that. We have Patty / Fae Corps owner. We have that way. I think. Well, no, it'd be that
You
way.
were all backwards the whole time, and we're just rolling with it, man. You go on. You're good. You got this.
We have Uncle Necro, and down at the very bottom we have Ron.
Here's the story. And more people on the
We almost have enough for the Brady Bunch here.
We will at some point. We are expecting 2 more, so they'll get here when they get.
Yeah.
You can be on time for the party, you know. Like we were the suckers that show up early, you know, and help set up.
Tonight, the part of Alice will be played by Patty.
Oh dear.
Are we definitely late?
We're also celebrating the 1 year of being a network on our own through storytelling and charity with the help of the Proliteracy Foundation. So this is super like monumental moment. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about what it's like to exist for a whole year along with this, because that's kind of why we chose that date as well. Technically, it's in like just a couple more days from now, but we're counting it because, you know, it's easier to do it.
It's within a week. It works, you know.
It counts.
It's only a couple days, actually. It's less than a week. I think the 11th was when it was discussed, and the 12th at like 2 or 3 in the morning was when Dell and I were just like, okay, we're a thing now. Let's do 50,000 things. And then we spent together 7 or 8 hours designing the structure of our network. And then she went to sleep, and I did it for another, I think, 13 or 14 hours. And then we got back together and added people and did our first show the next day.
Yeah.
So it was a whirlwind scenario that just kind of hasn't stopped yet.
And we squirreled half the time. That's why it took us the extra 7 or 8 hours to put things together.
It did, and I think our first show was an Allied Society, if I recall correctly. And then, because back then we just had Allied Society, Clutch, and Tomb was an original show, and Padded Cell. Those were our big original shows, and then we just started adding more and learning how to convert more from just conversations. And now we're up to like, if you include the ones that we don't stream live, I think we're at like 14 is what we figured out now. 14 different shows. It's a lot. It's a lot to manage. Worth it though.
Yeah.
But it's allowed us to bring on some amazing people, as you can see, and bring them into the network. And like people who I'm a big fan of, like Steve Van Samson is here.
Am I?
Sorry.
Wait,
I was required to do this.
I like that. Am I?
where?
Who's got some great other stuff coming up too. We're gonna try to nab you for some of that, maybe.
Maybe. We'll see how that pans out. There's some stuff I can't talk about yet, but yeah, definitely got some fun stuff in the works that will hopefully all come out this year. Got a bunch of things, but not able to talk about a lot of it. But the main thing that we're working really hard on is issue 3 of Gore Shriek Resurrectus with Rough House Publishing. Myself and Derek Rook and various other talented individuals who have lent their artwork to this project, and that is, we're hoping that it comes out by the end of this year, and it's going to be freaking awesome. It's going to be the best comic that Rough House has ever put out by far. It's really, really cool. So that's an anthology series, and so yeah, it's like every story is written by different people. Drawn by different artists and stuff like that. If you're unfamiliar with Gore Shriek Resurrectus, we resurrected the old Gore Shriek, which was a comic that existed in the 80s, and made it our own. And this is issue 3, so that is like taking up a lot of our time. That is for sure. But
it looks amazing.
Yeah, and there's other stuff too. Got some fun stuff in the works, but yeah, we're here to talk about the Light Menagerie. I mean, hello. Yeah.
I will say, though, if you don't know Rough House Publishing, I'm obviously a huge fan. I'm just going to toss that up there. I absolutely love you guys. Second time I've brought it up since the convention.
Yeah, proving once and for all you are, as well as a fighter, a writer, and a ruffian.
I love you guys, honestly. Getting to meet you and Derek was it was my highlight of that weekend, dude. There was a lot of
thanks, man.
crazy,
That's super cool.
Like, I don't even drink often, so the fact that I actually stopped and like drank with you guys was like the first time in over a year I'd even had like alcohol at all.
Yeah,
that's a rare occasion. Like I save it for special things, and that was definitely a worthy moment.
That was a really, really fun weekend. Yeah, we got to do Horror Hound in Cincinnati, and got to meet Raz in person, which was super fun, and had a really great time. It was an awesome, very lucrative weekend.
I'm bummed that I can't do the next one because the next one it's September 14th, and the haunt opens on the 14th.
Yeah. So
I may try and sneak up there at the after party on the 13th and say hi to everybody and hand out some free tickets to the haunt on Saturday night. But other than that, like I'm bummed that I can't actually just like go and enjoy it. That's what happens with September and October conventions for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, October, as anybody who's doing anything in the horror field, October is like the busiest month of the year. It's just ridiculous. There's so like everything goes on right then. So
the good news, though, anyone that goes to that convention that entire weekend, they are less than an hour drive from like 14 or 15 different months. So like you can literally go to that convention and it's opening weekend across Ohio. So it makes it.
We're losing your mic a little bit there, Raz.
Nope. Yeah, see, I got a whole new board and everything, so I'm not used to having to talk louder into this mic. I don't have the phantom power on this one.
All right. But as Steve was saying, we are here to celebrate the Light Menagerie. And this is a book that we're working together with the folks over at Proliteracy. And to help, we're giving 100% of the profits for the first year go to them, and things will be negotiated after that. A lot of us are just going to keep donating everything to them, but they're helping adults with literacy. So we think that's something that everybody should be involved in. And we are going to have a special show just with them, about them, coming up here in the month. So more will get explained about that. But what we did was we grabbed all of the folks that were great authors that are part of the Owl Light Network and are friends of the Owl Light Network, and asked for stories to come in. And we had some great stuff come together. Just getting released. You can get it. Patty is our publisher down here. She's the owner of Fae Corps Publishing. And where are we all up at now, Patty?
I think I've got it up just about everywhere. The hardback is still in limbo. I got it up on Amazon, but it's in review, so it might take a day or two for it to actually go live. But everywhere else should have it now. The best way to find it is if you go to Books to Read, Light Menagerie, you'll find it. But everything else, I'm pretty sure it's gone live on. I need to go and double check that, but yeah, it's live everywhere so far, except for the hardbacks. If you want to get it, Google Play, it's live there. It's live Barnes and Noble. It's live everywhere. So
Great.
We've got a little ticker there at the bottom of the screen for you. Oh, I also just put the link into our chat, so you'll see a lot of that pop up. And we do want to mention that 100% of our proceeds for a year are going directly to the Proliteracy Foundation. We're not taking operating costs or literally anything at all. It's 100% of every book sold.
and that's from not only their point of view, but from Fae Corps as well. It's a group project.
Yep, it's a big group project with Fae Corps, with us at Ally. Technically, also the Dorkening. If it weren't for the Dorkening, we wouldn't even be here at all. So that's special for us, and it's also from all the authors because, like we said, everyone that's got a story is either a co-host or has been a guest, with us and made a difference in the storytelling world in some way. So this is it really is a giant group project that we've been working on trying to get this off the ground with. And Proliteracy themselves, they did a lot with us in the background, and you'll see a lot more from them and us like for the next at least month or two, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're going to work real hard to get this book out to you guys and try to get it represented wherever any of us are going as well. We'll get stuff going up. But yeah, who would like to introduce and explain a little bit about how we got everything going? It was a brainchild that we just kind of put together. And Raz, you were the one who came up with the idea to begin with. So how about you give a bit of a rundown?
So, I had this thing I do. Every time I do a big project, I loop in a charity. I've been doing this since my late teen years, so for more than 2 decades. If it's a movie, I loop a charity, and I've done books with charities. I get to do a lot of charity anthologies with Patty as well, which it makes me very happy every year getting to do that. But it was always a way that I could find that even if I didn't have the time to give back, like the time to go volunteer or the time, the money to donate immediately, there was things that I could do to still make a difference. And I always pick a charity every time I do pretty much anything. And the original conversation with this was technically you were in on this as well, Del, because this was just a conversation between you and I initially a long time ago. Like the first conversation was probably 3 years ago, to be honest, back on the Right Discord server. And then we talked about it for a little while, couldn't organize the people. And then I'd say about a year and a half ago, we kind of started talking again and bringing it up. We both knew a lot of people in the industry, a lot of horror writers, a lot of, speculative fiction writers, and it just seemed sort of like the natural way to go with it. And then when we got the network together, you always do those things when you do a project with a big group of people, like a whole podcast network. You sit down, you talk about, what's my year goal going to be? What's my short-term goals going to be? What are the, in 10 years from now, where do we see ourselves kind of stuff? And like the first thing that Del and I wanted in our initial conversation was, within that first year, we want to do this. We want to write, stories with the people we care about. We want to make cool things with cool people. And we want to, do it for charity. And we spent a lot of time actually talking about, what charity we wanted to do, what we wanted to work with, before it was actually Del that found Proliteracy. And it was literally the perfect fit for us. Because, I'll let you talk more about that, because I know it was like their first time too.
Yeah, it was real kismet. We initially were looking at all the different literacy foundations that we could donate to. We did a first attempt to do something for children's literacy, and it was a program that gave kids, they had libraries of ebooks and stuff that children would be able to get, and did a lot of projects. But as we're slightly more adult themed, they were like, we really appreciate the offer, but you're a bit much for us, but so you might want to try somewhere else. So we went ahead, and the next one I looked up was Proliteracy, and they have just started their program with doing things like this. And so when I contacted them, they were like, we haven't even started contacting people that we have this. And I'm like, oh, well, I looked up on the internet, and found you guys. And they're like, she was just hired this month to start running these types of projects, so it worked out really, really well, because we approached them and had stuff going. So they were just like, we didn't know how to go about figuring out who to invite or anything like that. So thank you. And we're like, yes. So this is the first time around for all of us working with this. We're going to, it's a starting point for both of us on the side of us sharing things with a charity, and with this particular charity sharing for us. So we might have to learn a couple things along the way, but I think it's a great way to get to doing it. And I love supporting adult literacy.
I was also bummed to find out that the Derek Zoolander School for Kids Who Don't Read Good did not exist. I was really pushing for that one, but it did not happen, sadly.
Thanks, Raz.
You're welcome. That's what I do.
Raz, I've always thought you were really, really ridiculously handsome.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. That's why I had to do the blue steel for that picture.
That's my brother, so.
But yeah, we've been really excited about this. It's been a lot of work. Like any big project you've never done before, there's been miscommunications. There have been dates that have been moved until they can't be moved anymore. But yeah, we definitely all learned a lot about this, not just Proliteracy, but we learned a lot from the process. We also learned a lot about working together, because a lot of us probably drove each other absolutely apeshit some nights over this. But it also kind of weirdly led into other things like, oh, when we go out and promote this, how are people going to know we exist? So then, of course, we got like things printed. We have business cards now, and it all kind of happened the same time, because we had to design Del had to design a lot of artwork for literally everything. And it was like, if we're going to, be serious now and, go these next steps, beyond just the anthology, what do we do? And then we kind of accidentally did a lot of our plans that we had scheduled for like 3 or 5 years from now. We kind of accidentally did all of those things this year, which is great. It's great. But it's also kind of like, what's next? Obviously more of these. We definitely want to do more of the anthologies and stuff. But we'll talk more about that kind of stuff later on tonight.
And we have some people, their first time being published is in this book.
Yes.
Which are authors that we have tried to get published beforehand that just kept not submitting to anything.
Go Necro.
Logan. Yeah. Nobody that I'm trying to pick on here or anything, but yeah. So that was another happy, fun thing to be like, now you have no excuse to not publish. You have to bring out something, because we've told you that we like all of these things and we need some stories.
Oh yeah.
I'm feeling personally attacked here.
Not at all.
You should be.
It's a family thing for me too, because you guys don't know, Jayson isn't my real brother, like actual brother, but we've been best friends for over 20 years now. We've literally been in actual life and death situations more times than I'd like to count together. and he's a writer as well. We do stuff for Allied Radio, and he's our other game master on Allied Adventures. He's been published, I've been published, but we have never actually been published in anything together. And I've actually known Mariah a couple years longer than I've known him, and we had never been published in anything together. So it was like this super weird random thing of knowing him like 20 plus years and her like 25 plus years, like to never have done anything together and getting that opportunity now was pretty fucking awesome.
And for the record, I actually enjoy your disturbing ranch flavor. I really don't actually find it that off-putting. I gotta say, it's like,
Oh, okay.
It's like it's
See,
not even. I've eaten weirder dressings.
See, had you been with us on Monday, I would have came with flavor crystals.
Oh, do you effervesce? Like, what's your mouth feel like? Just
wow, that elevated quickly.
I need an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the newborn.
You ain't finding one of those here.
None of those here.
I had to check
Good
this
luck.
new word. I didn't know if it had Ron sound, but it definitely did.
I've never been asked that question. I should use that in daily conversation.
Yeah, can't say that again. Can't say that again.
I'm going to use
know
that
what?
from now on in all of my interviews. So what does your mouth feel like?
What's your mouth feel like? I think in job interviews that should just be a normal
Sell your
part
mouth
of
to
discourse.
Hey, Rob.
Hey,
Rob, boy,
Hey.
boy, did you miss
Hello.
something here?
Good. It's my old buddy, my old pal, Rob Smales.
Hey, Steve.
Rob, what does the inside of your mouth feel like?
You said that wrong.
I'm not
He
the one
said
to
it
ask.
better.
I do wish Rob was here for that question. It would have
It's a
made
party,
him
but
very
not that
uncomfortable.
kind of party. I mean, it could be, but I feel like, yeah, it probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, okay. Steve,
Yes.
what does the inside of my mouth feel like?
That's not even the question. He said,
Buddy.
"It's what's your general mouth feel like? What is it just? You know, when somebody puts you in their mouth, what does it do?"
You're not making the city better.
I'm just
You're not.
just asking. I don't even need to know. I don't care. That was just what we were talking about.
Because Uncle Necro's headline says now in disturbing ranch flavor.
That's
And
right.
it just
It snowballed.
Spiraled out from there.
Snowballed.
It's
It's
very
snowballed.
You came at the. In other words, you came at the perfect.
I came at the wrong time. I came at the
You came at
perfect time.
time. Perfect.
yes. So how's the milk duds level going, Rob?
I'm trying to cut the milk duds down. I'm trying to cut them out. They're just down.
How many milk duds do you eat in a day?
It depends.
I mean, do you keep count? Do you make a hash mark like on your wrist every time you eat one
No.
to make yourself
No,
feel bad
but
by the end of the day?
In the little town in which I work, so I like milk duds. Anybody knows me knows I like
All I'm
milk-
really trying to say here.
Yeah.
No, there was a
The
whole.
little town I work in ran out of milk duds because I bought them all.
Oh my god!
He did. This is a whole.
They weren't near the CVS. They weren't near the Richdale. They weren't near the 7-Eleven. They weren't near the little hole-in-the-wall store that's around the corner from my route. There weren't any in town. And apparently it's because I bought them all.
So are they all like 4 to 7 years old? These like they don't stock. They're like, we haven't stocked these
I don't know.
in
I
years.
didn't matter. I didn't care.
Rob will.
I
buy
know
them.
Kyle found some on Amazon.
Hey, I did first. The Ally Network swooped in to save Rob. We started
Yeah.
shipping him boxes. not boxes, but boxes of boxes.
Wow.
It doesn't count cases of milk duds just
I
started
didn't
showing up
know
at my
that
house.
the Owl Light provided this service. This is maybe, I actually have a personal problem. Perhaps you can help me with. I've been searching for a candy for years now because it was a candy that existed in my childhood, and I can't find it anymore, but according to the company website, it's still in production. And that candy is peanut butter Twix.
Oh, I
They
can get
don't
that right here.
exist anywhere that I go. I have not found a peanut butter. About 5 years ago, I started to pay attention and look anywhere I went. Any store that sold candy, if it's like a CVS in the front counter, if it's like a candy store, if it's like, you know, a Five Below or dollar store that, you know, like nobody friggin' has peanut butter Twix. I don't know what the deal is. Apparently they're still in production. They still make them, but the only flavors I ever see are caramel, cookies and cream, and I think that's it. I don't know. But like peanut butter. So if anybody sees peanut butter Twix or knows where to find them, you can send me boxes if you want. That's
So-
all. I will accept them.
Fun fact is they did get discontinued. Like about a year or two ago, they did get discontinued, but there was such a big deal that they've now brought them back.
So
And,
that's happened like 4 times then.
Yes. Yeah, this was like not the first time, but they are just now bringing them back, and they just started hitting stores again this year because they're everywhere. Like they're treating them like they got new packaging. Like they're treating them like they're brand new in Ohio. So they're
And I know
everywhere.
that at one point they were renamed PB Twix, like in the maybe late 90s or early 2000s or something. And it was not the same at all. And people rebelled, and they're like, this is a lie. This is lie candy. Keep your dirty lie candy. And so they like had to go back, and they're like, okay, we'll make the real one, and they called it peanut butter Twix again, and it was the old formula because it's like that crumbly peanut butter.
The big new one they're doing is the Twix creamy peanut butter. That's like one of the new ones. That's what I'm saying.
I
They
need,
have-
I
And
need
those-
the crumble. I need the dusty, sawdusty, crumbly.
Yeah, those are on Amazon.
It's just like sand in your mouth peanut butter. That's what I need.
Yep.
Do you know
That's
how
the
they make that?
mouthfeel that I'm looking for.
The mouth.
What's that?
That it's the same as like in a peanut butter cup, right? That kind of.
It is sort of
For the
similar,
crumbly?
yeah, but it was its own thing too. I don't know.
Oh, I know. I like them. If you want to make it at home, something similar, it's basically just peanut butter with powdered sugar mixed together.
I know.
Nutty bars.
Rob's like, yes, I make this.
Yeah, they just helped me find a candy for my childhood the other day. It was Brock's Chocolate Stars, and I don't know why, but they were like a huge part of my 80s and 90s. And I thought that they just didn't exist anywhere because no stores actually carry them anymore.
Oh, I'm
And
not
sure enough,
familiar
they
with
found them for me on
Brock's
Amazon.
chocolate stars. I have
They're
to look
delicious,
this up
man.
right now.
They are delicious. I mean, they were in the 80s and 90s. I haven't had them since then.
Yeah, they were a big part of my life because they were my mom's candy.
Yep.
And so we weren't supposed to tell. I wasn't supposed to know where they were, and I was of the opinion that I could take like 2 or 3 from the box and she'd never know. But if you take 2 or 3 from the box every day for a week and the box is empty, she knows.
That's what happened to
Gotcha.
me and why she started buying me my own. That's why I didn't touch her.
So yes, one of the projects that, or one of the services that the Owl Eye Network does provide to its members and friends is the finding and procurance of childhood candy favorites.
Yes.
That's doing God's work right there. That's wonderful. You guys are
Oh yeah.
really amazing.
Sometimes
Yeah.
we also find media that we swear exists and can't find record of anywhere. Like there is a very rare cut of Exorcist 3, for example, that is almost impossible to find because every time it's re-released, it's a lie because the version that they're claiming it's never the extended cut. You get the director's cut, which people say is the extended, but there's actually an extended director's cut. And I actually managed to find that for Dell right before her birthday last year. It took a lot of work and hunting down people that I hadn't seen at cons for like 12 years or more because I knew at one point in time they had a copy recorded onto a VHS tape to see if they still knew where to find it. Like it took me a good couple months on that one.
It's kind of like if you log on to Tubi and you want to watch your Deathstalker 2 because you already watched Deathstalker 1. And so you're like, all right, well, up next, Deathstalker 2. And it's like, oh, there it is, Deathstalker 2. And you're like, okay, Tubi, let's do it. And guess what? The copy of Deathstalker 2 on Tubi is actually Death Stalker 1 again.
Yep.
That's one of the same problems with The Exorcist 3 is that they have like the Blu-ray edition that's the director's cut on Amazon Prime, and you can buy it. And unless you actually buy the physical media, if you buy the just to watch it on Amazon Prime, it is the free version of the regular Exorcist 3. So
the recollected version Blu-ray package that got sold for like $80, $90 when the whole series got recollected was also supposed to be that version and wasn't. So you can't actually get that version on anything past VHS, and it was kind of you have to know someone kind of a thing. It was weird. But I guess now it's people like me have been finding it enough that they announced, I forget which company is doing it, but they're going to do a full re-release with the correct retouched Blu-ray version.
Raz causes so many things to happen in the cinema world. It's crazy.
I really want to see this. Where the fuck is it? I'm on Shazam next. That's my next goal in life is, proving once and for all whether it existed or not and finding a copy. It's going to be in a landfill right next to E.T. though, I'm pretty sure. The E.T. video.
Oh,
game.
the
Sinbad the Sailor.
Who supposedly
Sinbad the comedian.
Yeah.
Okay,
It'll be in a
Like made a
landfill
Genie
right next
movie.
to Thanksgiving too.
Yep. It'll be next Thanksgiving too as well. Yeah.
but
And
there's
the
an explanation
Berenstain
for
Bears
Thanksgiving, too.
spelled correctly.
Well, the explanation is that it doesn't exist because it was so bad that they destroyed every copy and made 3 instead.
Yeah, but the real explanation is marketing.
Yeah, of course. It's brilliant. 'Cause everybody freaked out and tried to find 2 and couldn't find it anywhere, and it was a big Andy Kaufman.
I know.
joke.
I know you guys did Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And I don't remember. Did you go over the whole the actual how it got to be the cult phenomena that it actually is?
Yeah, actually, and guy that plays Darren, Ryan Francis, also known as Huge. He's a nerdcore rapper. Ron's actually met him a bunch of times as well. He's from Columbus, Ohio, and I've interviewed that man probably a dozen times over the years. So we've gotten a lot of inside information, and we're about to get him back again on the network to talk about it even more.
Yeah, I just saw him
Because-
at a local show here recently, and I asked him about it, and he says that he's doing a 15-year anniversary party of his rap career, not necessarily of Thanksgiving or anything, but because he's been rapping for 15 years. So he's getting ready to do a big 15-year anniversary party, and he said that he'd be willing to come on to promote that as well.
Yep. He also helped organize Thanksgiving the musical, which was a big thing, and it came out. They only did it a couple showings of it one year here in Ohio.
That's
Fantastic.
Thanksgiving the musical.
It was as glorious as it
Patronize
sounds.
that.
did it have the scene?
Yes.
With-
I know what you're gonna ask. Yes.
You've been stuffed.
Yes.
You've been stuffed. No, I don't.
With music.
I've never
Watch
seen
and listen
Thanksgiving.
as this turkey
this has
dances his
evaded
way
me over the
into your
years.
It is the best, worst, and one of the few ever existing horror Thanksgiving movies. And in fact, until recently, the movie Thanksgiving, or was it Thanksgiving? Sorry, the movie Thanksgiving. We really didn't have any Thanksgiving-based choices other than Hunger Games, which I watch every Thanksgiving because there's nothing better than stuffing yourself full of turkey while people are competing for food. But I gotta watch Thanksgiving first, and then I go Hunger Games. Not a lot of holiday horror though, man. Not a lot. You get Halloween and Christmas, and then anything past that is rare.
Hulu started doing a thing a few years ago. I can't for the life of me remember what the hell they called the series now, but they were putting out movies specifically for holidays, horror movies for holidays that don't have horror movies. So
Yep.
there's probably a frigging Arbor Day movie now. I don't know, but the list you can look it up on the
Arbor
Wikipedia
Day.
page. It'll just show the list.
Wouldn't
The
that be the
trees
Guardian?
come for you.
Yeah, I remember that because
Oh,
it
maybe.
started with a project called Huluween, which was a bunch of shorts, and then it became that. And they did a lot of interesting movies though in there. Pilgrim was their Thanksgiving slasher film that they made. What else did they do? I'm trying to remember. There was a couple actually decent ones. Uncanny Annie was kind of a fun one about like a doll / board game come to life. But yeah, there was a whole series of them. And Into the Dark, I'm wanting to say is what the series of movies was. I think
one of the first ones that they did was I can't remember the name of it. It was about a hitman. I think it was actually a Halloween movie.
That one was good.
I like that. It's a hitman who's done the job, has the body, and is just trying to get rid of it. The whole night, he's just trying to get rid of the body.
Yep. It was awesome.
Very fun.
I'm trying to remember the name of it though. It was Into the Dark, and it's a series that they did all through 2019. They did, and they brought it back a little bit in 2020, and then dumped out like one more in 2021, and then cut it. And they did it. It's something they did in conjunction with Blumhouse. So they're all like full feature movies, and they're pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So when we were talking about candy, though, we skipped over Jenny's.
Well, we did. Yeah. We got to talk about that too.
Because it's something I've never heard of.
Buckeyes. Okay. I'm pretty sure Rob knows. Basically, it's the crumbly peanut butter that is made with the powdered sugar and everything. And then it's covered with chocolate up until like just a tiny bit where you can see the peanut butter. And they're called Buckeyes. But when you started talking about the powdered sugar and the peanut butter, that's what came to mind.
I didn't
never heard of those.
find
No, I
Buckeyes
never heard of
because they're an Ohio thing. Just so you know, like there's a non-Buckeye name for them that's a different name, but like we call them Buckeyes in Ohio. They're like the biggest dessert. Every candy shop in everywhere in Ohio makes them fresh. We make infused ones here at home.
Oh, these look so good.
And I'm not a peanut butter guy, but I actually really like these.
They're not Buckeyes, but every year my mom would make me peanut butter balls, and the only difference is that they're a full dip, so it doesn't have the blank spot at the bottom that makes the eye, where the peanut butter shows.
Yep.
And it got to the point she's getting older. She decides she doesn't want to make them anymore, so she actually bought some, thinking I would not know the difference. Are you kidding me? I'm not going to know the goddamn difference. I opened them up and I had one bite and said, "What the hell is this?" It was not the Christmas delight she was expecting. And I can't believe you did. So I started making them, and now she got out of having to make them.
It's a year-round thing here. Like every grocery stores make them fresh. Even like it's a year-round thing. People go nuts for them here. Like people will come in from other states and buy like dozens of like boxes of these things just to take home and pass out to people.
It's not a big thing here. You have to find an older person to teach you.
Yep, that's it. It's like one of those candies. It's like it's an older candy unless you're here, and then it's the most popular candy in Ohio. Period. It's the one thing you can walk in anywhere and say, "Hey, you got any Buckeyes?" And it could be like a store that would not normally have Buckeyes, that somebody could just be selling them for charity or for some weird.
It could be like a porn store, and they're like, "Yeah, we got Buckeyes."
Actually, I'm not gonna lie. That does happen downtown sometimes with Buckeyes at the porn shops.
Like, what do you think? We're savages here? Like, of course we have Buckeyes.
It's one of those things that if you were to make an Ohio welcome basket, one of the first things you would see is probably a container of Buckeyes,
and then just a ladle full of Skyline chili on top, right?
No, I fucking hate Skyline. I've lived here all my life, and I fucking hate that chili so much, like so bad. Brooklyn, my daughter, as you know, loves that shit. Like she eats that like it's going out of style, and every time it's even being heated up, and I can smell it, I just got to leave the area. I got.
It's so like I had never heard of it until you guys were all telling us about it, and there were other people at the con that were telling us about it too. And we're from Massachusetts, so I have no idea what this is, and it sounds kind of gross, but I'm always intrigued by like local favorites, and whatever like a regional, food is or something like that. And it's like, so it's chili, but it has cinnamon in it, and you put it on a hot dog with spaghetti.
Yeah. Yep.
That sounds disgusting.
It's one of the ways. Yeah,
But
you can with or without.
I would try it. Like, I would try it. And the only reason I didn't try it is because we had a 15-hour drive home. And that sounded like a dumb thing to do.
It would have been a very dumb thing to do. It's
So
the
we
kind
didn't
of
do
like
that.
you don't know how your stomach's gonna. If you haven't had it, you do not know how your stomach will handle it. I've seen first timers eat it and like take to it like fucking fish to water and had no problems. I've seen people get like half a coney in or just a plate without the hot dog, like the actual chili spaghetti, eat it, a couple bites in, and just run straight to the bathroom and be in there for an hour. So like, you can't tell people like, hey, you're about to go on a road trip. You should have this.
I also will say that 50% of the people that I've heard talk about Skyline chili have loved it.
Yeah, I mean,
the other 50% despise it.
Yeah, there's no middle ground with it. There's just none. You don't know how you're going to react. You'll either love it or hate it. There's no, I kind of like it. It's
right.
And we have a couple different. It's Skyline and Gold Star, but it's still Cincinnati chili. But it's weird. And like Bengals players, when they win, will fill their helmets full of it, and it makes me want to die inside.
I mean, that sounds like objectively too much chili. I mean, just of any chili, really. Just that's just like a lot of chili for one, human.
It is, but they're gonna have to throw that helmet away. You cannot get some Smales out, and that's one.
Put them back on. Oh,
they're encapsulating that with like
like
vinyl or something and putting it in like a museum somewhere because no one's ever gonna wear that shit or let it escape into the public.
Head sweat and chili.
Yeah, the whole game. Like when they win in big games,
seal it in epoxy.
That's all you can do to save the world from that scenario because it's a bad one.
See, in Nebraska, we serve chili with cinnamon rolls. It's a thing.
Yeah.
And then Alton Brown showed up, and he was like, "Okay," and like a bunch of different places when winter hits sell chili and cinnamon rolls. And so he showed up one time and was like, "Okay, I'm going to try this," and he got the wrong kind of cinnamon roll because I love Runza, but they're their own thing. You do not get the chili and cinnamon rolls from them. You get the Runzas from them.
Right.
But you need to get the big fluffy cinnamon rolls with the white icing on them, and they sell the ones that are more like a brown sugar coating on them. And then you have chili. And you can kind of dip if you want to, but you just eat them together. But he was like taking the wrong kind of cinnamon roll, cutting it up into pieces, and then dumping his chili on it.
I'm telling you, I think that's
and
how
we're just like
actually happened because like Ohio has made and invented some amazing things that you guys use every day and you'd never even know it came from Ohio. But we also have this thing of like Ohio-fying shit and just doing it terribly. And I think they just heard, oh, Nebraska does this thing. We should try it. And I think someone just went to Cinnabon or whatever the old age equivalent was and just threw it in a bowl and mixed them up with some chili and ate it.
No, Cinnabon's actually been around since the 1700s.
Has it really?
Yeah.
Then they probably stole shit from Cinnabon and just put chili on it because it's probably Winnie's chili or something too, I bet you.
Yeah.
Hey,
and how do you know?
Guys.
Oh, yes, dear.
Oh, sorry. So there's this ongoing raging debate that I'm having with my friend Brian that Krispy Kreme donuts are not true donuts. That he's saying that they have to be cake based to be a true donut, and I'm saying it's in the name, dough nut. It's dough fried. It's fried dough.
Cake based are a type of donut. They're not what a donut is.
Right. So he's saying nope. Krispy Kreme are not true donuts, and I'm saying don't be an idiot. Yes, they are.
And then you guys fought, and there were kicks thrown, and it got ugly.
Oh yeah.
And we got naked.
You hate to see friendships ending over semantics. You hate to see it.
Over donuts.
Hinata quite enjoys a good glazed Krispy Kreme. I found out the other day when I had one, and my cat has been voraciously stealing my food, and she'll just jump and bite it and grab it off whatever I'm eating. And I a donut, I'm just holding it, and she grabbed and pulled a full third of a donut off of it and just took it, ran and sat down and ate like nobody's business. She scarfed down that fucking donut.
The best donut.
I was just
visit Amish Raz sometime later this year to get some fresh Amish donuts. So
I have had the Amish donuts. I got some in Philly, and it was something.
Got some in Pennsylvania when I was going through, and oh my god, that's how that's how Amish Raz came to be. It was the whole thing. Those donuts are so fucking good, man.
Suddenly, all the buttons just flew off your clothing.
Oh, did I love that anthem?
I'm in.
That Amish woman, she was gorgeous. That just sold me those donuts. She really churned my butter, dude. And I just want you to know, I cheated on you in my head and formed a whole new life where I married her and we raised goats and made donuts, and I was the Amish like area storyteller, and that's just we retired in Groupot, and that was my whole life there. So like,
that's beautiful, man.
It was, and I think about Amish Raz sometimes. Every time I think of donuts, and I just smile to myself, like that guy's living the life, man.
You're giving me a craving, guys. Serious craving.
That question about, are these certain types of donuts? That sort of reminds me of the another useless argument that comes up every single year online, which is, what makes a Christmas movie a Christmas movie? That comes up every year. Like, is technically though, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Technically, is it intrinsic to the plot? Is the holiday intrinsic to the plot? It's like, oh my god, who cares?
And that is a big thing, though. Like, the holiday has to be intrinsic to the plot, but in Die Hard, it actually was, because only during a Christmas party specifically for a company that large would security be that fucking lax and people just literally be paying that little of attention.
Well, I would argue that it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't. And it's not even an argument. It just doesn't matter at all.
Also, the writing of ho, ho, ho on that guy would make no sense.
I'm going to make a Christmas book next year, a horror Christmas novel that has absolutely nothing to do with Christmas, except for I'm going to put it out around Christmas and just be like, this is my Christmas horror. Just to prove a point.
There you go. And one character in the background is a Santa ringing a bell, and that's it. That's it.
Like for 5 seconds.
Yep.
Santa Jaws.
There you go.
Gremlins, definitely a Christmas movie.
Gremlins, absolutely my favorite Christmas movie of all time. For sure.
Wow.
Yeah. I love me some Joe Dante.
Fuck yeah.
I love me some Jack Dante. So Death Machine, totally not a Christmas movie at all.
It can be if you believe in it enough. That's all.
Joe Dante's career launched by, like a million other people, launched by Roger Corman.
Yep.
Who we just lost last month. Oh.
Yeah, dude, I'm still not recovered from that one.
Yep.
But
without Roger, he wouldn't have gotten his start at directing, because he did Piranha.
It's just a favorite of mine, actually. The original Piranha, like the whole series, is a huge favorite. When they redid them, I was like, okay, this is fun, and it was fun, but it missed a lot of the heart.
It was okay.
Yeah,
I think the remake of Piranha was more like you're watching it for boobs. That's really what they thought you were watching it for. It's like, let's show all of them.
Yeah, let's just.
It's like, okay, no, these are nice, but like, isn't this a movie about like killer fish though? Like, is that maybe? Although there was one really good kill where there was like a lady who got like caught in the open motor of the speedboat.
She was trying to get out of the water.
Everywhere. That made me laugh. That made me lol.
Yep.
I lolled.
So you're getting an idea of what the authors of this book are like to decide whether or not, do you want to read this or not? And I think what you're saying is, oh yes, with these minds behind it, I definitely need to get my hands on this book. Because if these are the things that they just come up with on the fly, what is it like when they plan stuff? When they actually take the time to write something down and then maybe look at it again before they send it out.
Yeah. I've been in parties that also have involved heavy drinking and all kinds of other things, and like making people play bingo, and just, different fun, also fun, just, different styles of book parties. There's all kinds of different things people do. Us, we just get together and talk about random bullshit.
Ta-da!
But yeah,
I will say the stories in the book were not quite as random as the bullshit that's going on the screen.
Good.
agreed. Agreed.
That's excellent news.
Well, my next story is now going to be about the haunted Buckeyes that
Nice.
you can purchase.
I mean, we did have a theme, and our theme was Owlite. that was our whole theme. That whore.
What Owlite means to me.
What does Owlite mean to you, Steve?
What did Owlite do on its summer vacation? What does Owlite mean to me? It's a group of super cool people just doing their art for art's sake and, you know, being cool. That's what I think.
All right.
Celebrate all those indie artists that we know and love.
It's actually our
Bringing
way
them
of
to the
by
masses.
Nickelodeon. That's why Owlite exists, because it means it's a literary way of saying midnight. And we started everything as our campfire thing. The Owlite Society that we do was the first thing Del and I ever did years ago. And we wanted to do the Midnight Society, but we didn't want to be sued. So we're like, oh, Owlite, and then it just became a whole company.
Nice.
Not being sued. Excellent motivation.
Yep.
And now we have more owls than we know what to do with because everything is owl themed. You would not believe how many things out there you can get with owls on them or made from owls.
And
or
I somewhat
Made
enjoyed
by
owls.
owls.
Like I never
Owl-
thought the owls would be
Owl
my
artisans.
You can find things at random thrift stores like this, just randomly sitting on a knick-knack shelf for 50 cents. Just the place is full of random things. I find, oh, this has an owl on it. You must want this, and people just give me owl stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Rob looks either interested or like he's going to say something. He's got that.
No, I'm just leaning forward on the couch because otherwise I'm way back here,
Okay.
and just looks leaning back like this in front of the computer just looks wrong. So
I would say just be comfortable. That's the important thing.
Yeah, but we should transition into actually talking about the stories we all wrote.
Yes.
That would be good.
Probably.
We started to do that, and then Buckeyes and chili and different things happen.
Mouthfeel.
That's the way we are.
Getting the runses.
Yep.
Mhm. Man, I had that chili dog, and now I got the runses.
Yep. That's what I was worried about.
It does sound like James is prepared to discuss his motivation. So let's talk about your story, James. Launch into it.
Okay.
Talk to us
Okay.
about
My story was called "The Fine Art of Existence," and this story actually started life as a Doctor Who fanfic that was my little way of trying to work my way through the massive breakup between me and my fiance back in 2014. And in case anybody's wondering, Peter Capaldi, that is my
That's the
favorite
doc.
doctor.
Gotcha.
That is the doctor.
I was wondering.
But I couldn't really figure out a way to actually make everything work. So I let it go on the wayside, but bits and pieces kept floating around in my head. And speaking of which, man, I have a little rooster tail going. It's just that, and I'm hearing my voice again. I don't know.
I'm not hearing it.
Is that me? Okay.
It happened real quick, but it seems to be gone.
Okay, cool. But no, it's like years and years later, I reconnect with another friend of mine, and that, well, I also had this character that I created a couple of decades ago called Skip, the Angel of Death. His name is Skip, and that's my little way of having kind of existential type of discourses in my head with a wacky character that you could probably find from, say, Terry Pratchett or the guy who did the novel Lamb. I don't know if I can't remember.
Yes, Christopher
who
Moore.
The guys.
Christopher Moore.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
An Ohioan. Just want to point that out.
Because
Nice.
I have a taste for that kind of British absurdist humor kind of thing. So in this case, I figured why instead of the Doctor, why don't we bring in Skip? And one night I was kind of having what would in this instance, what would the conversation with him be like? And I wrote the conversation part first, which is kind of the middle of the story. And since like 90% of writing for me is in my head, I had to actually jump up in the middle of the night, just in my boxers, and type this all out before it left my head in the morning, which is usually how all this stuff happens. And then going back over it, I kind of started structuring everything else around that particular conversation about existence, quantum physics, the nature of whether or not do they need to actually exist in real time to actually exist, that kind of thing. If you can't see them, if they're not tangible, does that mean they don't really exist or not? And just kind of work on that, and that's kind of became the full bore of the story. I remember reading that at. I'm sorry.
And it was wonderful. It's a great story.
I remember reading an early version of it at the first campfire that I did on the right, and I made some guy in Scotland weep, I guess. So, just with the ending, because I don't believe in happy endings. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah. It's a good story. You guys are going to enjoy it when you buy the book and read it, because
yes,
you definitely want to.
Especially when you buy it in hardcover in a couple of days.
Oh yeah.
Yes. But yeah, James has a wonderful story. It's very tragic, but it is very existential too, which falls into, I think a lot of our stuff has some bit of speculativeness to it, I would go into. It's not exactly all horror, which we're kind of a horror-based network, it seems, most of the time. And a lot of people that we talk with write horror, but a lot of these had they were horror, but there was a lot of speculative fiction in this one. So I think you guys are going to love it.
I think the thing that a lot of people don't even know the term speculative fiction. I know a lot of writers who have never even heard the term until like someone just brings it up. Speculative fiction covers a lot of ground, from horror to sci-fi to drama to even a little bit of YA to a lot of things in between, and it blurs a lot of lines. On Owlite, we tell stories, man. Sometimes it's a story about the time we accidentally stole a cop car at a donut restaurant. Sometimes it's a story about someone's home being haunted or whatever it is, but we tell stories. We don't always label the stories, so they kind of go where they're meant to go. And that's the cool thing about storytelling. So when we get together to do an anthology, you can expect that hard horror like lean, but you're going to get everything in between too. Welcome, Amina.
Hello.
Hey, glad you made it, hon.
I made it.
We're fixing the break on.
I didn't know if I was gonna make it. It was kind of scary there for a minute.
So who we got next? Who wants to discuss what they wrote and why?
I can hop in. Go ahead.
Okay. Mine started as a mesh of stories my mom told about when she was younger, and a couple of things I heard as I went on from other stories as I got older. And I tried to figure out how to use the people in her story, because they were real people, and they I didn't want to name them per se, but I use the names of a whole bunch of wonderful friends here. When you actually read my story, you'll see that a couple of them turned into a mix of friends here and my kid. And that would be why I dedicate it to my mom, because a lot of it is her story that she told. And I added my twist, and I hope you guys like haunted houses. It's 3 different hauntings rolled into one. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of repeaters, or if you've seen the wispy, like, beings that were never human, and just a little boy who didn't understand why something went wrong, and his parents did what they did. I hope it turned out to be a really good haunted house story, or at least one worth reading. They let me be in the book, so I like that.
My favorite thing about it is that it had a lot of heart. Like, you got to see like different perspectives, from the perspectives of people that knew about the paranormal and they were to help people, from the perspectives of different members of a family who were actually going through this haunting. Like, there was a lot in there. It wasn't necessarily an "oh my god, you're going to be terrified" horror story about hauntings, but it didn't need to be. It was about the heart. And like, it's a unique type of like haunting story that you really don't get to see too often. And I love where it's at, man.
My goal wasn't to scare, so I'm glad that came through.
Definitely.
Mine involved my mother as well. I'm a hardcore heavy dreamer, and I think a lot of people know that. I sleep like a ridiculous amount a day, and I remember a lot of my dreams. And Mom doesn't always, but she's had some that really stick out with her. And so my story started off as a project that we were doing that was a collaboration on Right, for a messed up, not necessarily haunted, but potentially demonic arcade that was out there, and everybody got to pick a different game. And so mine was about a virtual reality game called the Nightmare House. It takes you into your nightmares. And so I actually, and you have to survive it to get through. And so I took stories from my personal nightmares and then added in chunks of the nightmares that my mom has had that she's always told me since she was a kid that she did remember growing up, and got to put those in together. So it'll be the first thing that I've written that she's actually going to read, because everything else has been like Cthulhu mythos or some other kind of weird stuff where she's just not really interested in it. But that's something that you get a lot, I think, as an author, is you have your parents will read some things, and there's some that you don't necessarily want your family to read. But she's just, she's like, I'm proud of you. I own your book. I'm not going to read it because I have no idea what the Cthulhu mythos is, and this makes no sense to me. I don't. You're going to have to explain every other sentence, and I'm not going to just sit there on the phone with you while you tell me what this story is supposed to be about. So
that was the first time you and I actually were in the same actual project together.
Yeah.
Technically.
Well,
we didn't really do anything with the hotel. Like,
yeah,
we actually did stuff with the arcade, and actually made its way around a lot through Facebook or through No Sleep. They're kind of everywhere.
Yeah. That's a noise.
It happens. Yeah. Who wants to talk about their work next? What about you, Ron?
What about me? What would you like to know?
Tell us a little bit about, like, what your story is and why you wrote it.
Well, for this anthology, the story that I wrote is called The Owl and the Mouse. When I found out that Light was doing an anthology, I wanted to do something for it, to submit to it, and I wanted to keep it in theme. So I tried to think of what could I possibly do that's in theme. So I thought, let's make it on the nose, and we'll make it about an owl who's hunting by owl light. And owls hunt mice. So he's searching for his nightly dinner. And while he's searching for his nightly dinner, there's a secondary plot that is happening at the same time that this chase is on. I tried to draw some parallels between the two plots with the owl chasing the mouse and the secondary plot that is happening at the same time, and exploring the relationship between hunter and prey and differentiating which is which. Then it just became a matter of who do I want to win. And I'm actually quite proud of the story. I think that it turned out rather well.
I agree.
Nice.
It's a very good story. And it was a fun jumping back and forth to see the different perspectives and the thought processes going on.
Definitely. What about you, Steve? I know you actually did a reading of your story on an episode of Allied Society with us at one point.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I wrote it first. It was the shortest story I had ever written, and that was only 2,000 words. And I read that version on the show last year, I believe, at some point. And my story is called Dusk Blue Camaro, and it really is a tribute to my wife, Christine, because she is the big classic car lover of the family, and that 69 Camaro is her favorite car. So I thought it would be fun to write a story about a 69 Camaro, and that was the germ of it. And it's like, all right, well, what can I do? What can the story be? I want to, is the car haunted? Is it, I don't want to do an evil car. I don't want to, that's been done. Like, what do we do? So, I sort of wanted to make it, I decided I wanted to make it about the fact that this girl was going to her grandfather's house, who, she's been estranged for basically since she was a kid. And, the reasons why are part of the reveal at the end, and she doesn't really know everything herself. And so it's sort of this rediscovery, this idea, like, I've had to deal with the loss of both my parents in the last 2 years. And a big part of what happens is, you have to deal with the fallout of their stuff. As you're grieving, it's like you also have to do a whole bunch of crap that, you don't have any energy for at all. And so I made a story, I worked that into it. And it's like, all right, well, the grandfather has passed away. She has to deal with his estate. And so she's going there to his house for the first time since she was a kid because they were estranged. And then she's kind of like, when she gets there, she's kind of like, I wonder if he still has the car, kind of a thing. And it sort of just kind of goes from there. And, I don't want to give anything else away, but I did read the 2,000 word version on the show last year. And then, so I ended up more than doubling it. It went from 2,000 words to 4,500 words, which is still very, very short for me for a short story. I usually end up being more like 7,000 words at the minimum. Usually it's even longer. So this is still really, really short for me, but I think it's a cool story. I don't know. But it seemed really appropriate because I had read the shorter version on the show, and it felt like, you guys should have this one.
Appreciate it. I do love how you get the nostalgia going in that one too, and because it's a bit spooky at the beginning, but not so much spooky as more as just like revisiting and you can tell there's the underlying current of something going on, but you also have that whole like, yeah, what did I miss? I remember doing this when I was a kid, but what's happened? What didn't I get to be a part of since
Yeah,
we
it's
were
that idea
estranged
of
and
like
stuff?
revisiting a place that you have, you have memories of, but you haven't even thought about the memories in a long time. So you're going to this place, and now things are starting to flood back. All these things you haven't thought about in years are just coming back, and you're like remembering all this stuff, but everything's different. That was a long time ago, but you see a little hint of something. Oh, that tree, or oh, that bench, or that those pile of rocks used to be a fire pit. That kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I definitely loved both the 2000 word version you read and this, but like,
thanks, man.
There's like no comparison though. Like, it's weird because I mean, obviously you just extended like, well, you more than doubled the story, but like, they both almost tell a completely different story in their own way. They really do. It's interesting. I like that.
Thanks.
Yeah, go back through and watch, and buy it so you can read the up version.
Yeah.
Yes. What about you, Rob?
About the story, so Northern Lights is an early story of mine, and I was playing with things. I've been doing this for 15 years, and I'm still just learning to write. The whole thing's a giant process, and so I had heard various things that you need to kind of have to put together a horror story, and isolation was one of them. Like isolation and the unknown, and I was trying to put things together into a story using the things people had told me needed to be in there. Problem is that I don't work very well like that. Um, my stuff tends to grow. I'm like Steve. I don't tend to write short because the characters kind of take over and stuff starts to run away with me, and I wound up writing their story, not the one that I had planned on.
I thought you were going to say because you're bald.
Well, that too. I normally have a great big microphone, but I don't have it on vacation.
Wait, Rob's bald?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could show you because I'm not wearing any pants, but it's not that kind of show. So it was supposed to be shorter. It wound up being a bit longer. And it's not the story that I meant it to be. It's kind of it's a possession story, but it's not really a possession story. It's a creature feature, but it isn't actually a creature feature either. It's a whole bunch of things that I kept on trying to throw in there that didn't want to stick. And I wound up just playing with the character who's this stories about a writer, of course. Stories about a writer who's trying to get away from it all so he can write his goddamn book. And I feel that. I feel that so hard right now. But he goes to a cabin in Maine, in the mountains of Maine, and he's just like, I'm going to stay here until I'm done. And like lots of city folks who think they know what snow is, he doesn't know what snow is. And he's winds up snowed in, and shit goes horribly awry. And the whole time he's keeping a journal because while he's working on his wonderful American novel, it's going to be the great new big thing. He's also keeping track of his day to day, this like adventure that he's having in the wild, and someday this will be a book too. So you are getting his diary of the day to day things that happen to him, excerpts from his diary as shit starts to go horribly wrong. And it winds up turning into just flat out his diary as he has less and less time to write because he's spending more and more time just trying to survive. There is a creature, kind of, and there is possession, kind of, and lots of weird shit happens. And I'm really happy with the ending. I would be really happy with the ending when it came out, especially because that's not the ending I meant to write. So,
Well, we're glad that you wrote it.
thank you.
We love it. Sorry. Oh. Nice Tyron.
Yes.
Why, thank you.
You dress up nice.
That is gonna bring us over to Patty.
Technically, I have two things in there. I wrote the poem at the end to tie it up. I felt like that was me telling the audience, hey, I hope you enjoyed the stories. But most everybody by now knows that I also write as Serena Mossgraves. And Serena's story was this camera had been found, and with it some pictures. And the idea behind it is, well, we aren't always told what the generations before us do. And sometimes we get caught in traps that are not of our own making. And that's what this one is. The girl in the story is caught in a family trap. And she's trying to figure out how to undo the trap. And in that, she's realizing that the trap is for something that no longer matters. She's not going to fulfill the conditions of the fairy trap anyway, because it doesn't suit who she is. And of course, her family doesn't believe that, because why would they? So it's kind of a fun little, I'm learning who I am and learning how to deal with who that is in a way that the world might not accept, but it's okay because I accept it, kind of story. So,
That's beautiful, honestly. There's a strong message there that I think people will really enjoy, as they're reading through that for sure. Hey, Stefan.
Hey, Stefan.
I was going to grab Amina next, but I think she's still away for the moment, so I'll go ahead and go while we're waiting on her to get back. I did a story called Eternal Lament on Route 30. Let me explain how this came to be. One, I had a teacher in medical school, actually. My English teacher in medical school, Bill Abbott, had read a lot of my, obviously non-creative writing and thought, hey, this kid's probably, got a voice while I was a young adult, and had me do this creative project on the side for fun. He was a poet. He did a lot of creative writing himself, a well-known poet in Ohio, actually. And he just kind of inspired me to do it one day. And I'd been writing since 9, 10 years old. Every month it seemed like I had folders upon folders of stories, poetry, so many things. But no one had ever been like, hey, why don't you really go farther with it? And he challenged me to write a story. So I write it. I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be absolute garbage. I hand it to him. And he convinces me to put it in for a story competition on tour, which I'd never really thought about, really entering things before. I just kind of mostly wrote for myself. So he's the one that got me to write the original version of this. The second reason that the reason why I put it in this particular collection is that it was in my original anthology or collection of shorts called Campfire Tales, with a publisher that almost ended my entire desire to be an author completely ever. So like, it's one of only 2 stories I've never brought back anywhere from back then. And it felt like, the story that began my writing career and almost ended it, it felt right to kind of bring it here with a group of people that I like. I love all of you guys so much and everything you guys do. And I wanted to kind of take the power back on this story to kind of make it mean what it was always meant to be for me. And that's why it's in here. The reason it got wrote, period. You guys have heard me tell you all kinds of fucked up things about Ohio. And here's a common story that's happened in many states. Sometimes funding runs out for mental institutions. It's a very sad thing in our country, but it happens. What you don't always know is that some of even the really bad ones with criminally insane people just close. The staff leaves, the doors get opened, and everybody just leaves. They walk out and leave. These patients don't always get transferred. They're just like, oh, well, we're closed down. Squat here, go do shit around town, go do whatever you want. And they just bail.
They told us to go.
Do what?
They told us to go.
Yeah. But this is something that sadly does happen. Even as recently as in the last decade, it's happened 19 different times in our society. This was a particular institution called the States. It was at one time the most max facility in Ohio. Known serial killers had spent time here. Known Ohio serial killers. Charles Manson even at one time was held there for a very short period of time. But it was a well-known place that before I was alive, about 5 years before I was born, it got shut down, and people just walked out. There were murderers, there were robberies, there was all kinds of things throughout this whole area for a little over a year before everyone was either rounded up or, the patients got killed in self-defense from other people. It was a fucking nightmare situation in Ohio. And we used to drive by this place all the time when I was growing up. My mom would point it out because she lived not too far away from where it happened. And so it was, it's the story that I grew up with. I started thinking about it. And this is sort of my version and like the way I built it up in my head, like how this place had to have been. It had to have been like nothing but the worst serial killers of all time. So I went through and I found some of the most notorious serial killers in all of history. And I renamed a lot of them, or I just used like a version of their name, and I collected them all in one place. But it's also about eternity. It's about, what happens when you die sort of thing as well. Because it was also right next to a rather enormous cemetery. So in my mind, everyone was ultimately buried in there in the cemetery. This place, even abandoned, and it still stands and abandoned today, still has the razor wire, but the way all the gates were made does not look like it's keeping things in so much as keeping people out. It was just the way things were built a lot back then, and it always just kind of freaked me out. So this was it's one of my only stories that's not in first person, actually. Like my shorts are generally in first person, but it's one of those like right when I got started before I even really got into first person at all. So, but yeah, that's kind of the reason I wrote it and why it's here.
Awesome.
Cool.
Ohio has so many weird things. The more you get to know Raz and some of the other folks, you're just like, okay, that seriously happens there?
I mean, that happens.
And I mean, no, this happens, globally.
In New York before. I mean, it's the mental the healthcare for mental people, mental issues is disgusting in our country. But to know that even like within the last decade, still that, sorry, can't afford to house you. You're done. Just go wander off. But to know that still happens today it's alarming, man.
Well, and you're saying that where it's they're housing the criminals and stuff instead of just, being a place for people who are trying to recover from different mental illnesses. We've had that problem here with they tried to. Yeah, they tried to convince our local place to house somebody, and they were just like, "No, we cannot take this person. We cannot control this person whatsoever." So,
like normally when you hear these stories, it's not like the secure max ones that just get left to do whatever. That's a pretty rare case, although it has happened. I think it's 13 or 14 times in the history of our country has like a max security, and I think it's 8 or 9 of them were in Ohio. But it happens. But yeah, normally it's people that have had a hard time and they've been abandoned by their families. And they've gotten nowhere except for this institution, and it's all they know for most of their life. Because we come from a world for a very long time. If people didn't like you, legitimately, if you were just the odd man out and people didn't like you, and you were young, especially, mental institution. We got nowhere for you. Or some people were born in one. Like that's a
Or
common.
if you were born a woman and had thoughts.
Yes. Yep. Orphan.
Epilepsy.
Yep. If you were just an orphan and the orphanage was full, mental institution. So like it was a stupid common thing, and people forget about that dark part of our history. But I mean, it's real. It happened, and when people like that get even people that weren't violent just get dumped on the streets like that, they become violent. They have the probability to.
I'm afraid you have emotions. We're going to have to put you away now.
You're either a witch or you belong into asylum. That was pretty much it for a long time for females. Which
you read books.
You can read.
Witch.
She turned me into a newt. I call that
a newt.
I mean, look at Zelda Fitzgerald. She got F. Scott tossed her into the clink like twice.
Yep.
She wrote.
I had this really amazing
unwomanly thoughts.
Yeah. I had this really amazing teacher. She did ethics, and when I went to medical school, and she was around when we had the giant flood in the 1920s, which ruined our entire city. Like parts of our city are still abandoned underground, and they just built over it. And she remembers what it was like to be like a child back then, and especially a female child, and what it was like to be passed between, the mental institutions, the orphanages. Like they would just bounce you everywhere. And my mother-in-law actually was also orphaned and grew up on what was called the farm over in Springfield. And it was basically like for wayward kids. And, like it was the farm. Like you went and worked on a farm and did all this stuff. But like every one of those stories ends in tragedy and abuse. Every fucking one of them. And it's tough, man. It's tough. I think Amina is back now, though, so we can talk to her about her story. And my Yay, welcome back.
I'm so totally back. Okay, so admittedly, I do not write horror, and that was the theme. And I initially just sat down to see if I could make something seem
and then cried for an hour and then wrote.
Dark, yeah, and then cried for an hour and then wrote.
I was there.
Yeah, it was bad. Like it's because this okay, so the day that I started writing this story was also a day that some things had collapsed for me. What I had been doing before to write, I found out was non-conducive to bettering my life. I guess that's a nice way to put it. And things were going wrong, and I had come to the realization that I had fallen into a hole. And I hadn't written in forever, and I was kind of trying to figure out the logistics of, okay, if I'm going to write, how am I going to do this? I have to give this up and this up and this up. And they were like, hey, we got an anthology. And I was like, oh. Then they said, hey, it's horror. And I said, oh, I can't do that. And then Raz is like, yeah, you can. I'm like, no, you write horror. I don't write horror. And then I was like, okay, fine, I'll try it. And as with all things, they gave me a limit of 10,000 words. And of course, I overshot it because wordy. But I honestly, it was to me what I wanted to do something different than I normally did. So I went with the age-old adage, write what you know. And what I know is being a paramedic and people suck and that nobody is ever really what they present a majority of the time. And when I thought about the movies that are considered horror that I truly enjoy, most of them are psychological. So then I started attacking it from that viewpoint, and that's how Welcome Home got written. So it was just one of those things.
You even created a whole other personality to release it.
I did. I created a whole nother author name, and yeah, it's crazy.
And I got to see this story at like every point in which you were writing it, and it was really amazing to watch this story grow and watch someone who swears up and down, "I'm not a horror writer," turn out one of the best pieces I've read in a long time, man. Like you came strong with this one. You're not allowed to ever claim again that you can't write horror. It's outlawed.
You honestly know, like I said, I like the psychological horrors, and we've talked about this, Thomas Harris's Hannibal, Silence of the Lambs, stuff like that. So we've talked. I like psychological horror, period. And it, like when all this was going on, Mom and I had been watching, I don't know if any of you guys have seen it, but Anthony Hopkins did another movie called Fracture.
It's a great movie.
It is a phenomenal movie for like just a psychological mindfuck. So yeah, I had actually been watching that when I was going into writing it. So I realized I kind of wanted to do something that you didn't see coming. So yeah.
And I know you got the speech for me about, horror is a lot of things to a lot of people, because I've given this same speech, like, I feel like a million people, but it's true. Like, some people are scared of an orange. Look at No Sleep and Reddit. People were afraid of an orange, for a good reason. Some people are afraid of the psychological. Some people are afraid of monsters and slashers. Like, someone told me the other day that they refused to read horror because they didn't like to read all about blood and guts. And I had to go, wait a minute, that's not just what horror is. That's like a very singular view of what it can be, but that's not, you can't say that this is what it is absolutely, because it's not.
And I mean, mine isn't technically horror, but
Well, and I mean, for me, and honestly, it was that particular speech from Raz that made me kind of shift the way I was thinking when I was writing it. Because admittedly, like, he can tell you, I'm like sending him the first paragraph, and I'm like, I really don't know how to make this work, because I'm not, like, I'm just not good at this. Like, I mean, gore I can write, I can describe anything that I saw as a paramedic, and it's gonna make you vomit. That's fine. But being comfortable writing it, and writing it to a point that it makes sense for what the story you're trying to tell is, I'm not sure about. So, like, Raz went on his tangent about horror is not just blood and guts, it's this and this and this, and he made me rethink it, which kind of allowed me to kind of just go. So yeah, it was odd.
You do got to do that though. Like, you just got to stop and like take yourself out of that headspace and just take a breather and come back fresh sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that this is the one that you actually had me beta read for you as well, because you were just getting back into writing and not in the best headspace. So I was, if I remember correctly, I was trying to be very supportive of you and, give you some ideas on what to work with, what to do with the story. And I believe you used some of those suggestions, because from the version of it that I read, I'm not sure if it's the final version that's in the book, but from the version of it that I read, it's a solid story. It's held together very well, and it has a very definitive, good ending. It's concrete. It's a good story.
I actually did change it a little bit based on the conversation you and I had. So the version you read is actually different than the one that's in there, because something you said actually resonated. So I went back and I changed a couple of things, and I was like, ooh, this is better.
It turned out amazing.
Now I'm going to have to go back and read it again to find out what was changed.
Yeah, because like you and I were Yeah, because you and I, we were talking about it, and you said a couple things, and I was like, yes. I think I kind of like that better. And then I was like, well, can it work? And I'm going back and going, okay, I can pull this out, and I can do this. And when I finished it and sent it in, I was just kind of like, oh, man, yeah, I just did a thing. Sent it off, and I was like, so I'm going to work, and the first thing I got from Raz when I got back was, holy shit. And I was like, yeah? He goes, yeah. I was like, okay.
Isn't that a good feeling, though? Isn't that a good feeling?
Yeah. And Raz will tell you, he's always been my reference point for horror because, again, the way I was brought up, horror was not something we did or were involved in. And so he's kind of my reference point. And for him to send me a message that goes, holy shit, I was like,
really good, man. It's a really good story.
I did something. That's awesome.
The story was in you all along, man.
I love it every time she writes something and sends it to me. It's always, I did a thing.
Yep.
Yes, you did a thing. You did a damn good thing. Keep doing it.
We are going to take a commercial break to kind of split up. We also know that some of you guys do need to get out of here. If you do need to go, go ahead and raise your hand. We're going to go ahead and at least talk to you guys about where we can find you going forward. So, Uncle Necro, where can we find you?
You can find me alone in a farmhouse in eastern Nebraska yelling at squirrels outside. Also, you can see me at various blogs, some other podcasts, and also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you really want me in a professional sense, get a hold of Friday over here. She'll have the deets that you'll need and try to rouse me out of my malaise so I can actually get some stuff done. So,
well, much love to you, man. Always a joy to have you around. Anybody else need to take off? Kind of revolving door today with the whole book party thing. It's a come and go.
No, I got off work to be here. I ain't going nowhere, Gilbert.
All right.
We're going to go ahead and hit that break then as soon as... Go ahead.
I was going to say I could probably go. Technically, I'm on vacation, so I'm supposed to be spending time with the people.
You should go spend time with people there then. Where can we find you, Rob?
Facebook is basically it at the moment. I'm so busy right now. I'm not doing anything. I'm not anywhere. I'm not anywhere that you can find me.
We miss you, sir.
I know, and I've been meaning to come back, and as soon as I have time.
We get you. You're busy. You got a lot going on, man.
I have more than I wanted to have going on. But yeah, no. As soon as things maybe slow down at work, or if I get a couple things off my plate, and I can start doing the fun things again, or the funner things again, then yeah, I will be back in here and playing with y'all.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Well, thank you for being here, man. We love you tons, and we absolutely love your story. And thanks for doing that with us.
Thank you for having me in the book.
Thank you for being part of it.
Always good to see you, Rob. Take care of yourself. Have fun. You're on vacation.
Yeah, go vacate things.
Yeah, don't go edit.
Don't go write.
I'm gonna get to write this week. I haven't been able to do that since December.
Wow.
Now go ask everybody there what your mouth's like.
Screwed it up again.
Okay.
Warm and wet.
This point in time, it's on purpose.
The word is moist.
Okay, we're gonna hit
Yes.
this. We're gonna get an ad break. Give you long enough to go grab some popcorn or whatever you're enjoying today. So here you go.
Greetings and shabebans. We are the Retro Redoctopus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Yeah, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite Seed's trying to say is that on Retro Redoctopus, we explore a range of retro goodness, from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh.
And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Door King Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Brig.
You can listen to Retro Redoctopus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.
We're back.
Yay!
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the Redoctopus commercial. I forgot you guys play that, and thanks. I just want to say thanks.
It was funny because those of us that had the backstage control can see all your faces during commercials.
Yeah.
I saw you as soon as it came on, split up.
Tusker ran away when I got up to run to the bathroom, so now Cthulhu had to adopt his son.
Yeah. I got some plushes over here too. Mine are all octopus themed.
Aww.
There he is.
Cthulhu approves.
This one's handmade. A very cool artist who made these. She makes all.
Wow.
I don't even know what is it called when you do
crochet.
This? Crochet. Yes.
Crocheting or knitting.
Pretty cool.
Not sure.
This is our. Yeah, there he goes. He's gonna fall. Ah, sad.
Half of my stuff he collects right now.
This guy fits very nicely. He's like, hello.
Here we go.
Hello.
Oh, and Fergus, Mawiku. He goes, moo. Moo, you bastard.
Well, I've never stayed to the end, so I want to stay to the end tonight.
You're gonna stay to the end.
We don't want to do too bad for you. But we're not going to do a 3, 4, 5 hour thing like we've done once in a while. We promise.
We don't know when the end was going to be, though.
Yeah.
There's a lot of background noise from somebody suddenly. It wasn't there before.
Yeah.
Oh, that stopped.
Okay, so it's actually my fridge. It's dying.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, okay.
That's the fridge.
Well,
So,
fridges are important. They keep shit cold. So, it's fine.
yeah.
Cause.
Is it
So,
running?
second half of the show.
Yeah.
What do you guys
Second
got
half.
planned?
Mouthfeel.
No, we already covered
So
that.
just the whole second hour is just that.
Hey, Stephen.
At least they're not asking you to sing. It's something that happens every now and then. But yeah. I mean, not that you're a bad singer, but it's one of those things where being put on the spot to just hey, sing now is kind of one of those.
I think singing over the internet seems like a bad idea. That seems like a recipe for embarrassment right there.
Just a word of warning, you do that with me and you're likely to scare away everyone. I'm talking to everyone because I'm tone deaf.
We've jokingly and not jokingly discussed doing like a padded cell musical episode where like we did a little bit of karaoke during it. We have talked about that for a long time now.
So yeah.
But it makes sense on padded cell. Like it would totally make sense. Even if it's good or bad, it would totally make sense.
I think for the second half of the show we were gonna do if somebody wanted to share a bit of their story, read a little part of it, like obviously not read the whole thing because we want people to go out and buy the real thing. We could do that. And Friday had also been accumulating a list of strange facts about our authors.
Well, you might have got something.
I don't know if she got one from everybody though, so some people might need to reveal them.
Yeah, I haven't got one from all the authors. But
you know so many crazy fucking things about me that I just couldn't decide what was actually crazy enough to be listed. Or weird or fun or whatever.
I was made for loving you by Kiss. I was made for loving you, baby.
I got from Steve, he already told us about. And I want this, if we're going to talk about crazy facts I know about people, I want the hiccup story from you from the fire breathing.
Not fire breathing. I was not allowed to go that far because I had the hiccup story. No, I used to do stand-up comedy, and one of the people that I did comedy with, he did comedy and magic and fire breathing and fire tricks. And so every night when he'd go on, there'd be like his magic tricks and he'd do jokes in between them, and then they'd turn off the lights and put on a soundtrack, and he'd be like juggling fire, and then he'd like eat it a couple times and pass things around between hands, and then he would end it by doing a couple of the breathings of it and then swallowing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was teaching me how to do the pass around, and a lot of it is you have the specific substance that you use to soak the cloths in that are on the ends of like the like little steel dowels basically hold these cloths, and you use that and you get it on your hands to pass it back and forth. You wet your fingers with it, and then when you touch it, it'll go back and forth, and you can get it. There's enough of it that stays on there that doesn't burn, that you don't actually have to like put your fingers in the thing. You can get it straight off the cloth that's on there. But to put it out, there's a special trick to that while you're swallowing it. And that is to, sorry, everybody out there who wants us to be very mysterious and such, but you save a breath right here, just enough as you're doing everything, that when you get it right to your lips, basically, you breathe out real hard, real fast, and then you can swallow the whole thing, close your mouth around it, and take it out. And we had a party going on, and I was practicing this with my friend outdoors because it's not something you do in your apartment. We were out in the alley, and we'd all been drinking a bit, which, by the way, drinking a lot of alcohol when you're getting ready to do fire tricks is that involve your mouth is not the best thing to be doing in general. But yeah, I got all ready to go, and I had the breath ready and held right in there, and got it, and I started feeling the hiccup coming on as it got to like right here, and I was able to like breathe it out, and then as soon as I pulled this out, I had this like hiccup, and then I got just a whole fit of hiccups going on, and he just took, and he's like, "No, you're done for the night." I'm like, "But you were gonna teach me how to breathe." Nope, not anymore. You've learned as much as I will let you, because you were drinking and putting out fire, and if you had messed that up.
If
you would be going to the hospital
past today.
Yeah.
Yes. you would have been going to the hospital. So yes, kids, do not drink and fire breathe or fire eat or whatever. But it is a fun thing to learn if you take safety precautions and are taught by somebody who knows what they are doing.
Fire bad.
Yes. So who has the next one?
You're controlling it, Friday. You got to tell us.
Yeah, you have the list.
I'm going to tell the next one. Okay. Uncle Necro has already left. He has a whole lot of band T-shirts, and he is our heavy metal expert of the group. Well, one of the biggest ones we have. Because I think there's 2 that I know of. But so I put him as 1. So
3.
3? Okay, I have 3. So, and then the next one that I remember getting was I have Patty's and Serena's. Patty's was that she'd been to 48 contiguous states of the America, basically all the linked states. And then Serena's was about her fairy tale books. Now, this one, I want her to tell us about that, about at least what the fairy tale books are.
I actually have a hardbound copy of Grimm's Fairy Tales, and then I have a children's fairy tales copy. It's just a big blue, it's fairy tales, what you would expect. But I have a hardbound copy of the original Grimm's Fairy Tales as well. And the only reason why I can say that I've been to every one of the linked 48 is because I rode with my boyfriend in a big truck for a while. And what states he didn't go to, I've lived in. So we spent 2 years in a truck. So, wow. And at least one of those years, I was pregnant for 7 months of that. So climbing into a big truck 7 months pregnant was not a fun thing.
Morning sickness in a big truck, I can't imagine was a fun thing either.
Oh, God, no. I have some serious fun stories around the big truck, but the biggest story I have is he decided, we were in Laredo, Texas, and he decided to get me some burritos out of this guy's trunk. I don't know why he decided this was a good thing, but we were on the border of Mexico, so, and he knows I have no spice tolerance at all. And for some reason, he thought the green sauce would be the mild sauce. I see that laughter, Del. No, the green sauce was not the mild sauce. So I made him pull over at this little border Exxon. It was the only place we could get the big rig in. And I waddled my ass, because I was 6 months pregnant. I waddled my ass into that Exxon and bought a half gallon of chocolate milk. And I got it to here before I realized the date on it was 2 weeks out of date. I drank half of it before I realized it was out of date, and it was chunky.
Oh, Jesus.
She was drinking pudding.
So gross.
I was puking for 2 weeks.
Oh, God.
And it had nothing to do with morning sickness. I check the date on milk every time now.
Yes, happened once.
It's a good thing to do.
Eating her curds and
you got it.
That is awful.
And Amina is, she was once beat the 10th ranked female dart player in the nation at a regional bull shooter contest.
Yes. That was not too long ago, actually.
Ooh. I know it's fun to watch you play.
Fun fact: the darts are actually taller than her.
Yes, yes. That is probably a very fair assessment. Yes.
What are you, like 5'4.5"?
No, I am 5'1". I barely break 5 feet.
So,
you're actually shorter than me. Yay!
Please picture this with me, because I can. Someone 5'1" beating people at darts, and these boards are set up for people closer to my size, and she's kicking their butts. Please let me know that you understand how beautiful that is.
Just imagine the Lollipop Guild rolling into a bar and playing Dusk.
Yes.
I do.
Yes. And it's kind of funny because a lot of people that play darts, even the females, are 5'6", 5'7", and that puts them eye level with the bullseye. I am nowhere near eye level with the bullseye. I am eye level with like the double line on the 19. So
the quarter slot.
Yeah,
you can see that one.
Yeah.
The Lollipop Guild.
Yes, very much so. And when they got me to start playing, this is one of those scenarios where this was never something I was gonna do. But that's what best friends are for, right? My best friend was on a dart team, and he was a bartender at the time, and they were trying to practice because their new league season was starting in a week, and they only had 3 people. You need 4. And he was like, "Hey, come throw darts." And I was like, no, I don't throw darts. I've never thrown a dart in my life. Why would I throw darts? Well, it's just for tonight. We need to practice, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, as with all things that Bobby asked me to do, I said yes. And I went to go play with him and his 2 teammates. And the first time I threw a dart, everybody turned and looked at me and said, "You don't do what?" You know, like, well, you know,
She doesn't play darts. She doesn't write horror. She doesn't.
Yeah, I don't do.
I really want to see you up against my brother-in-law who plays shuffleboard and is like 6 foot something or other up there. Like, we all hug him around like chest to belly level, but you'll be like standing at the shuffleboard thing, just like pushing them out from here instead of, you know, they're all like reaching down trying to get to them, squatting over. You're just like,
Well,
did I hit it?
The funny part is, like, I started playing that season after that night because they were like, you're naturally okay with it, so maybe see where it goes. The guy that runs the Fayetteville League, who is actually a national player named Brian Blake, this dude is like 6'5". Like, to see him standing next to me is literally like looking at the Lollipop Guild. I look like I am a child. And he saw me play once and said, "Hey, do this." And he started working with me over a couple of seasons. And he's actually the person that referred me to the women's state team for Steel Tip. So he's the reason I got there. And he always laughs now because there's little short old me and all these tall ass guys. When you're playing mixed doubles at state, it's a male and a female, and everybody laughs because I am literally the shortest person there. I am so short, I still get carded at the bar. So, you know, he finds it hilarious because these guys will talk serious shit about how short I am and say, "Well, we know she's going to hit the bottom of the board." And then you go up to the shot line and I'm like, "Oh yeah, 19 looks nice," and then shoot triple 20.
Yeah.
And he loves watching it because nobody's prepared for it. And it's actually become one of those things. And one of the decisions I have to make now, we have a state tournament in October. And because I am ranked where I'm at, we actually get to choose our intro music. And
Nice.
I don't know what to choose right now. Like, there are several that are, you know, percolating, and he's like, "Choose something good." I'm like, "Oh yeah, no pressure."
It's super ripped.
The theme of the Lollipop Guild.
I was gonna say filter, "Hey man, nice shot," but come in just super ripped when you do it, you know, so it's on point.
Honestly, "Hey man, nice shot" is one of them. Another one that I am debating on is "The Vengeful One" by Disturbed. And "Wolf Totem" by The Who. So
You know what
who
you should do,
knows?
you know, like, instead of like going on point for your team, do something that's like an earworm that really fucks with the other team. Like, come out to like breakfast at Tiffany's or something fucked up like that. So they're just sitting there in their head trying to get the song out of their fucking head while they're playing Dynamite. They'll screw them up so bad.
For the Song That Doesn't End by Sherry Lewis.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
And demand that they play it for 17 minutes.
You're welcome.
Come out.
The 10-hour version of the Now Cat song.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. I'd do it. But yeah, well, I mean, and you know, everybody's kind of like chiming in. I had somebody on one of the opposite teams tell me I should use "Crazy Bitch" by Buck Cherry, and I was like, well, "Yeah, that's a good one."
Go deep into the B-sides with one of my favorite songs, Green Jelly's "Misadventures of Shitman," because no one would see that coming. Like no one would see that coming.
Well, and I considered using Tenacious D's "The Metal." I did consider that one. So you know,
I won't go there because I have so many fucking earworms that I don't want to destroy people's lives with. I'm already stuck with them.
There was one I almost recommended, and like, because I knew you'd kill me for saying it out loud, so I didn't.
Yes, please don't. I appreciate that.
Just walk out to Phenomena by the Muppets.
Dude, that pops up on my Facebook feed way too much.
Especially when Splash Pages did it.
Well, and what's really horrible is Raz and I, like, whenever it pops up, every once in a while, if we just feel like it's been too long, we tag one another in it.
We do. We've been doing this
yeah.
since social media began.
Yeah.
It started on MySpace.
It did. It started on MySpace, and it's horrible.
Actually, it started on AIM technically first, but you know.
Like, well, no, you're right, because we had the radio station.
Yep, and they had that message board add-on to AIM.
Yeah, yeah.
Yahoo chats were the only things that had that, other than like BBS's from back in the day.
I love
Yahoo
that's
chats.
true. You guys remember ICQ? Oh man.
I was just thinking about ICQ. I was like, what's the one with
Every
the little
now and then
flower?
I'll go back and reinstall ICQ just to see what's going on, and there's still stuff going on constantly there.
Wow.
Ventrilo.
Oh.
Ventrilo.
Mm-hmm.
I still remember my ICQ number.
Oh my god.
Same. I have my whole thing still saved, so I can still log into that same account from when I was like 12 or 11, or it was a long time ago.
One of the last things posted on my MySpace thing was one of my friends from high schoolish age, different schools, but about that age. And it was Soylent Green is people, Kari is people, Kari is Soylent Green.
I mean, that
out.
checks.
I
Carry the two. Yeah.
I still talk to the first sysop I ever had on the very first BBS I ever logged into when I was 8, because he lives in my mother's neighborhood, and his entire garage was literally retrofitted into a server room just so he could host this goddamn thing.
So the last thing that it is on my MySpace from where I was doing
I still log into mine once in a blue moon just to see if it's still there and just feel better.
The last thing that I changed was I had just learned how to do the sparkly.
Yeah.
Raz, you'd remember, because I went to you and I was like, how do I do this? I want to make it all purple and sparkly.
Yep.
And Raz is like, you have to do this and this. And I spent a day doing it, and I was like, too much work, and signed out.
Yep, and she never logged back in.
That is true.
My favorite thing about
Admittedly,
MySpace.
Admittedly, the only reason I had a MySpace is because that was the only way I could get my brother to answer me. I had ICQ because it was fun. I had MySpace because my brother would not talk to me unless I sent him messages there.
I got it to play Gold Miner. I'm not gonna lie.
I enjoyed taking the quizzes that people would put up and then changing what my result was because I knew HTML. And so people would be like, how in the fuck did you get that result? And I'm like, I answered it just right. But what answers did you use to get that? You'd have to try it yourself, man.
I don't know, man. I was stoned. Like, I just hit buttons.
How did you get Gwar as your race if you were playing Lord of the Rings? I don't get it.
So let me tell you about this asshole in the top corner.
That one, not me.
Yeah, the other one. So the quizzes. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I do. I know what you're about to say.
So this asshole would send you quizzes, and he would go, "Hey, look at my result." And you would go, "Oh, that's cool." And you would go and take the quiz, and it made absolutely no sense how he got the result. There was a night, I kid you not, we were online role playing. And this quiz thing started at like 9:00. He literally sends a link, and he goes, "Hey, do this, and if you answer like this, you'll get this response." This started at 9:00. So I'm sitting there doing the quiz, and then, switching over, and I'm typing out my answer, and I go back to finish the quiz. I did this quiz, I kid you not, 35 times between 9:00 and 2 a.m. telling him, "I don't know what you're talking about. I keep getting this answer." He's laughing his ass off because the answer that I'm getting every time is something that is just making fun of how short I am, or being Southern, or the way that I talk. And then he goes, "Hey, by the way."
I hacked the fuck out of that quiz and gave her a link to the version that I made. Yeah, it was fun. It took her forever to figure it out.
Like at 3 a.m. when he tells me this, I literally turned around and I was like, I had been posting like paragraphs all night, and I was so pissed off. I was just like, exits.
Walks out. Also, to where it did not matter what she typed, it was going to give her all these responses in order, and they just became more and more and more blatant with every single attempt. So the fact that she got to 35, and I did 50 options just because I know how thorough she can be, but the fact that she made it all the way to 35 tries, that was impressive.
Yeah, I still talk to him, and this is what he does to me.
The last one, number 50, that she never saw, I don't think I ever told her this, was literally I drew a stick figure. And the stick figure was like this tiny, it just had an arrow down with the word short. Like, that was number 50.
Yeah. It was horrible. Like, 2 days later, I signed on to like 3 emails going, "Don't be mad. Where you at?"
Who is our next one, Ginny? We're squirreling off a little bit too much. Gotta get to the next part.
That's the problem. I can do mine, but I don't remember Ron giving me one. So, Ron, give us a thing.
What would you like to know?
Something that we already don't.
Something that you already don't know. There's so much. Where do I even begin? There's so much you don't know about me.
One random fun fact.
How I mean, I know we're 18 plus, but I can kind of curve it a little bit. But have I ever told you the story about why I drink primarily Sex on the Beach?
You didn't tell us why.
You told us that you did, but you didn't tell us why. Yeah.
Okay. Then here's a fun story for you as to why I drink primarily Sex on the Beach. And this is not Sex on the Beach. This is actually Baja Blast Mountain Dew mixed with a little bit of, let's call it potent potato water. Anyway, Sex on the Beach is my favorite mixed drink. I'm sure that some people would say that it's not a manly drink, but they have not had the experience with Sex on the Beach that I have. It all started. I have to make sure that my mom's not online. She's not hearing the story. Okay. Just keep an eye out. Make sure she's not here. It all started when I was 16 years old, and I went on a vacation with my parents to Cancun, Mexico. We stayed at a hotel in Cancun. My parents were out shopping one day or doing whatever it is that, parents do on their own. And I stayed at the hotel, and I went down to the hotel pool, and I'm swimming, and I see this nice looking Mexican girl sitting on the side of the pool. Me, I'm in first year Spanish in high school. So what the hell? Why not? Let's go for it. I'm in a foreign country. If it fails miserably, I got nothing to lose, right? So I went over and I started to try to talk to this girl. It turns out that she was from Mexico City, and she was on kind of a vacation there with her dad, who was actually on business, and they were staying at the hotel. And we somehow hit it off, even though she spoke very little English and I spoke very little Spanish, but somehow we understood each other. And one thing led to another, and that is where I had my first kiss on a beach in Cancun, Mexico, which, we were there for a couple of days. So we started hanging out with each other. And so it eventually led to, I guess you could say, my first sexual experience. Let's not go into detail on that, but okay. So let's fast forward. I am in college. My freshman year, I had a class. We took a field trip up to Manhattan. The university owned a loft up there in Tribeca. There were 11 of us in this group that we went to Manhattan, stayed at the loft, did the whole sightseeing thing. And then, of course, we're let loose on the city. Now, you let a couple of 18-year-old males loose in a city where anything can happen. And we went to this bar. This was your stereotypical, straight out of a movie, New York bar. It was dark. It was crowded. It was smoky. And I shit you not, I couldn't have written this better, but there was a guy on a piano playing the piano man when we walked in. God's honest truth.
Was it 9
sounds
o'clock
cliche.
on a Saturday?
On a Saturday, yes. I know it sounds cliche, but it's the God's honest truth. That actually happened. So this waitress comes up to us, and she's rather attractive, probably in her 40s, short black hair, and she comes up to us, and she goes, "What can I get you boys?" Now, I'm from small southern mountain town. This would have never have happened. They would have said, "You guys can't be in here," or "We need to see your IDs," or whatever. But this is New York. I don't know or think that they even care. So this waitress comes up to us and she says, "What can I get you boys?" Now, the guy I was with, Jay, he looks at her and he says, "What's good?" And she says, I'm hearing myself. So, and she says, without missing a beat, "Sex on the beach?" And Jay goes, "I've had that." And I looked at Jay and I went, "I have too." Then I found out it was a drink.
And it was also what your parents were doing when you were wondering what parents do when you're on vacation.
That wouldn't surprise me. But then, that's how I found out that it was a drink. But I thought she was being like tongue in cheek, or she was trying to be sarcastic. I did not know that this was actually a drink. And I didn't know if Jay was being serious or not, because she never asked us for ID or anything. Mm-hmm. So she brought us Sex on the Beach. And I fucking loved it. It's tropical. It's fruity. It's got vodka. It's right up my alley. And I have been drinking them ever since, just because of an experience that I had on a beach in Cancun, Mexico when I was 16.
Nice.
Oh.
Great story.
Stefan would like to join in with He is not our father.
Lies.
Thanks a lot, Dad.
In the words of Paul Harvey, now you know the rest of the
I
story.
learned it from watching you, Dad. I learned it from watching you. That's still my favorite ever ESA.
So there's
The
your fun
one
fact about me.
That's a great fun fact.
I have not. I'm still working on getting the ingredients.
The one I put up about me was about sewing. I love to sew. I've made multiple different things. The reason that one came to mind is my mother-in-law decided to ask for mats to put on top of all her bookshelves and her side tables at her little she shed. And then I put together two things I never thought I'd have to put together: the tops of bookshelves and how long a yard is. That I never thought I'd have to learn that, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So bookshelf you buy from Walmart can be anywhere between 5 inches to 15 inches short of being a yard.
Did not know that. Mine are different sizes.
Yeah, mine are
Of course,
too.
one's like I have one bookshelf that has been with me for about 20 some years, and before that it belonged to my ex-roommate's parents for like 35 years, and it is heavy as hell and it is in great shape. And then I have like an IKEA bookshelf that like the bottom part is at like totally like a, instead of being straight up and down, it's like near and then the top part starts to straighten up. But that one's only been here for like 10 years, and it's just the bookshelves themselves are like weighted down because I have a layer of books, then a layer of books in front of it, and then the tops of the books are laying on top of those. You know, that's how my bookshelves look. Some of them now are supporting the bottom.
Understandable. Like, it's the same sort of thing. It's like books just in every possible place that books can be, and yet we buy new books.
Yeah.
The shelf.
And I have.
I'm so glad that I'm not the only one.
Yeah, here's a book that you can buy if you need it on your bookshelf. This is a really good book right here to have on your bookshelf. Just yeah.
What a strange coincidence! It matches your background, Ron.
Don't
I
it?
don't know.
Oh, isn't that weird? I did
How
not
did
even plan that.
Happen. Jeez. That's just a coincidence.
You got any more fun facts back around?
What was Steve's fun fact? You said he brought it up again, but let's make him do another one since he already.
The fun fact I gave was the fact that I had, extended it.
Okay.
A separate fun fact about the story, because I talked about the inspiration with the car and
this is about you.
About me. I've never had sex on the beach. That's it.
Okay.
The drink?
A fun fact about me. Yeah, Stefan wants to be buried in his to be read pile. Yeah. Yeah, we could all make pyres with our to be read piles, that's for sure. I'm sure. That's just how we are as readers. I don't know. I don't have one ready. I wasn't thinking. I thought I was through it. I'm just not that interesting, I guess. I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. It's really late. I don't know. I like heavy metal and video games, and I host Retro Octopus, and you guys saw a cool commercial for it, and we're really cool. And yeah, it's a terrible story.
And he likes bananas.
Cool story, bro.
I do like bananas. That is true. You know what? Do you guys? Okay, how about this for a story? How about this? Do you guys know this? This is supposedly true. Okay, I'm not. I know I sound like I'm full of shit, but you know how like everything banana flavored doesn't taste like bananas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like banana runts and banana anything. You know what I mean? Like it always has the same flavor, right? Well, you know why that is? You know what that flavor is?
What's that?
It's the original flavor of what bananas used to taste like when the Food and Drug Administration, whoever chemical scientists came up with the flavor, they based it on what bananas tasted like at that time. But like as humans go, we keep changing food, and like now things are not the same flavor profile that they were 100 years ago at all. Things like, you know, fruit and like all sorts of stuff. So the flavor that is that fake banana flavor, it tastes nothing like bananas taste today, but apparently the like, what do they call it? The heritage or the there's a word for it that's like
Heirloom?
the original, the heirloom bananas that we got here in America, wherever when we first brought bananas here, apparently they tasted like that. That's my fun fact for you. That has the more you know.
I was just reading this. It says it's
and
the
knowing
same
is
way
half
with-
the banana.
It's apparently the same way with processed honey, butterscotch, artificial coffee, and perfumes, where like things have changed a lot since then. But to this day, what we think pears taste and smell like now is actually closest to what that banana flavor tastes like, and they use it in pear drops to this day.
So weird.
Yeah.
Another fun fact related to banana soda. Do you know the original flavor of the Twinkie was banana flavor?
That I did know.
That is, you did know that?
No,
I did.
I'd still eat it.
Yeah, it's true. It was when Twinkie was invented, like, 80 years ago or 100 years ago or whatever it was, banana flavor. And then they switched it to vanilla cream because World War II and all these, efforts had to go to the war. And so they couldn't produce banana flavor anymore. So they're like, well, shit, we don't have the stuff. So we'll call it vanilla. And then people got used to the vanilla and they brought back the banana, and everybody was like, we actually prefer the vanilla, sir. And so banana rum does not taste like bananas, according to Stefan.
There's a comedy movie with Jason Bateman called Extract, and it's about a vanilla extract company, and some of those things were mentioned in that movie.
Oh, nice. There you go. See? All may be true, unless I'm lying.
I get why it meant what you meant when you said that they couldn't produce it, but for some reason I'm like, yes, all banana extract must go for the war effort. We can all agree.
Yeah, whatever like they used to make the extract, or I don't know, whatever it was, but supposedly it because of so many things were not available. Yeah. And they did bring it back, and people were like, no, we prefer the vanilla. So they went back to vanilla, but it's yellow to this day because it was originally yellow because it was banana. So they never changed the color.
Nice.
I think food history is like friggin' fascinating.
Oh, it definitely is, dude. I like to watch the How It's Made videos sometimes. Like to this day, even as an adult, I go back and watch those.
Not banana related. You know why the Triscuit's called a Triscuit?
Why?
It's the first biscuit that was made with electricity. It's an electric biscuit. It was cooked with an electric onion.
That was the name of a punk band.
I thought it was because it was a triangle-shaped biscuit.
Nope. It was electricity is the tris. And it was it's like it goes back really far. It's like the 20s or something. It's
not because it's made with 3 different grains.
No. Look it up. Electricity biscuit.
I try not to study anything because I had this philosophy that I learned a long time ago about studying, and this is a fun fact for you as well. The more you learn, the more you know. The more you know, the more you forget. The more you forget, the less you know. The less you know, the less you forget. The less you forget, the more you know. So why study?
Apparently, so this was something that so many people said about Triscuit, like spread this information around so far that in 2020, in March of 2020, they actually released a public statement confirming it.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Huh.
I just typed
you
in
know.
electricity biscuit was all I typed in the search engine, and the whole thing popped up. That's cool as shit, man. I did not know.
It's really crazy. It's like sometimes, you just do not realize how far things go back.
Biscuit.
Yeah. And it's weird. It's like we, the several ideas for why it could be called Triscuit were named, like more obvious ideas.
Yeah.
And
those all make sense. Everything, what you guys just said, Patty and Ron, I mean, those all sound good. Like, sure, maybe it's that, but it's like, no, it's weird. It's weird. We did on Retro Redoctopus, we do lots of nostalgia stuff, and we love doing history. And there's an episode we did a couple of years ago. It's one of my just favorites of all time, and it's called 90s Toys That Aren't from the 90s. And the basic idea was that there are so many toys that basically every generation thinks belong to them. Like, the really best way to put it is kids today think Legos came out now.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a little kid right now playing with Legos, you're like, oh yeah, that's a me toy. That came out for me. So there's like so many that get re-released essentially like every 10 years. But the way that the marketing is structured is they don't act like it's back. They're just presenting it for the first time every time, because they understand it's a different audience. It's a new generation of kids or whatever. So it was really interesting, like, finding out how old certain things were. Like, everybody knows Barbie goes way back, and like Tonka trucks go way back, and Hot Wheels and different board games. Mousetrap was way older than I realized. The board game Mousetrap, that game goes back like to the 50s or 60s or something like that. Like, there's so many games that I'm like, yeah, I thought that was for me. That was my toy. It's like, no, dude. Like, Stretch Armstrong keeps getting re-released every 10 years. Like, so many random ass toys. But Silly Putty goes way back. Silly Putty, I think, was the 40s. And I think the oldest one we had on the show was, remember Pogs?
Yeah.
Yeah, Pogs like had a resurgence in the 90s, and they were just randomly popular. They're milk caps, or the other thing that they're called, but Pog was a brand of milk caps, and they're just these little circular little cardboard things, and they had pictures on them and stuff. And that goes back like turn of the century. It was I can't remember where it was, but it was like Hawaii or some island or something that it originated in, and it was a game people played with literal milk caps. There were it was a milk juice drink. It was blended milk with juice, and they had a few different flavors, and they had just like underneath the cap there's a little piece of cardboard, and people just ended up popping those out and like creating a game with it. And it goes back like literally like over 100 years, and somehow in the 90s it became like the biggest thing in the entire world for like 5 minutes.
Dude,
so weird.
I was convinced for a while in the mid 80s that playing marbles was a brand new thing that people didn't know.
Oh yeah, see that's a great example. Yeah,
like grandma was like, showed me her whole marble collection from her childhood that she'd had saved in a box, and I was like,
right. Or like Slinky. Slinky had such a resurgence in the 80s.
It did.
I thought that was a new toy when I was a kid. Or like I remember, like, because I have memories telling my mom about this new toy, whatever it was. I'd be like, Mom, there's this thing called jacks, and you have a ball and these like jacks, and it's this new thing. And she'd just like laugh for 20 minutes, and I'd be like, what's funny?
So do you guys remember like the specialty yo-yos?
I was about to bring up yo-yos, because I thought that was like the newest thing. And then everyone in my family has been like, dude, watch this. They do all these tricks, and I'd be like, these just came out like a week ago. How the fuck? And they're just like, dude.
You fool.
Mine was Lincoln Logs. My great grandfather got me Lincoln Logs, and I thought those were like the newest and coolest things. Yep. This was like 82.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a great example too. So let's see, when were Lincoln Logs invented? And this is kind of how we did that episode. We would think of a toy, and then we just look it up. And let's see, 1916.
Wow.
Taking inspiration from the plans of the Imperial Hotel, the inventor perfected the idea for Lincoln Logs. 1916, using notched pieces of wood for the miniature logs, allowed the toys to withstand playtime instead of earthquakes. John Lloyd Wright, inventor. Really interesting. Yeah, that's a great one.
That's amazing.
Hi, Tom. Pogs originated in Maui, Hawaii between the 1920s and 1930s.
Oh, nice. So it was Hawaii. Cool.
And Stefan is going to call electroshock Trisket therapy.
Nice. There you go.
Do you remember that with some bands too? Like a song would become popular again, and people would be like, "Oh, you've got to hear this new band."
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, Pink Floyd. I thought was like a new band in the '90s because I hadn't heard of them. I mean, in hindsight, I knew songs, but I didn't realize that they were like Another Brick in the Wall. I knew, but I had no idea. So I remember like being a teenager and learning of Pink Floyd, and it was like, oh, is this some new band? And I got laughed at. So yeah,
my daughter and I have had this conversation because there's songs that have come out recently, and she'll be like, "Have you heard this new song? It's been put out by so and so." And I laugh, and I'm like, "No, honey, that was originally put out by this person. What you're listening to is called a cover." And
yeah, that too. Yeah, yep.
There's a lot of them, and there's songs that I didn't even realize were covers back in the '80s. Like Roberta Flack originally did the song that the Fugees became famous for, "Killing Me Softly."
Yep.
That one was a big thing, and that was not their original song. It was Roberta Flack's song. So.
Actually, it wasn't even Roberta Flack. There was a lady had written it even prior to that, and Roberta Flack covered hers.
I didn't know that. I thought Roberta Flack did it. So yeah.
I can't remember her name.
Queen was brand new, a brand new band when Wayne's World came out. I remember being in that city, and I suddenly loved Queen. Went through their whole catalog and was a Queen fanatic. And we were in the process of moving to the house my mom lives in now when I was like 9, and I was like jamming out, and we were meeting the neighbors who were adults and stuff. They're like, I was like, if I play any loud music, 9 years old, if I play any loud music that bothers you guys, just let me know. Oh, what are you into? And I started going, oh yeah, I'm into this new band called Queen. And the guy's face, he just starts laughing. I'm like, what, man? And he brings over his outfit dates, and I'm like, I was trying to look cool in front of this new neighbor.
Yeah, I was also introduced to Queen because of Wayne's World. Totally. Yep. I didn't know them.
So Pearl Jam's cover of Last Kiss was the first one that got me.
Really?
Trisket therapy. Go for it, Stefan. It's all yours.
I had a family member. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I had a family member who tried to tell me in 1998 about this brand new band, Violent Femmes, because they heard "Blister in the Sun," and I was like,
"Fucking love that song." I just want to say,
but you just looked
at
it.
Song.
You should have looked him right in the face and been like, "Give me the keys, Dad." That was actually one of their first big hits.
We used to jam out. We played that song when I was playing in bands in high school.
Yep. Fuck Freak covered that song a bunch of times. It was an easy one to cover.
Let me tell you,
mentioned
that song also showed up when me and Raz were up at 4:00 in the morning. And when you can't find anything else to do and you're really just looking for words, somebody would just start typing out lyrics. You're done.
Were you getting something?
You mentioned Pink Floyd. I have a story on that one. I was 6 weeks late entering high school because of one reason or another. And I had a friend that decided that Pink Floyd was the way to welcome me to high school. Another brick in the wall, and she had the boombox playing so loud that it rattled the windows in the school. That's how I got welcomed to ninth grade.
Just another brick.
Uh-huh.
I guess music kind of leads me into my fun fact. You guys know, like, anything I could constitute as a fun fact, people just know about me because I just say shit all the time. But the first 2 songs I ever memorized as a child were Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice and Can't Touch This by MC Hammer. And not only did I learn all the lyrics and can to this day perform them both flawlessly, right down to the pauses and everything, I learned the dances to both, and I still know them because my sister was into dance. And she liked dance routines, and she'd do dance routines around the house, and she'd learn them, and she taught me a number of them that I still remember, including a lot of new kids dances. But I still know how to do the dance, the Can't Touch This, but mostly the Ice Ice Baby, and I can break it out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, here's a fun fact for me, Raz, since you shared that. The very first song that I ever performed live in front of an audience was Metallica's For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Nice.
I approve.
I think mine was Green Jelly Three Little Pigs, and it was a talent show, and we actually had puppets on stage, and I was there singing the whole song with a microphone with a big orange shirt that said storyteller guy, because I was the one telling the story and singing. And at the very end, during the Rambo part, you find out that it's a tearaway shirt with a Velcro, because I'm wearing dog tags and like camo underneath, and I pull out a fake gun and I shoot the wolf, and it's the whole thing. Yeah.
Yo, wolf face. I'm your worst nightmare.
Your ass is mine.
Your ass is mine.
Yep. But we had the actual puppet show going on, kind of like the whole. You know, we took the music video way too seriously. Is what happens. We built the houses on the stage, and like it was the whole thing, the whole production.
The first song that I ever did in public was with Bobby at the auditions for our spring play, and we actually did Phantom of the Opera because we're stupid.
How did that go?
Nice.
Got the part, so
Well, there you go.
It's haunting. No, we are hitting that 2.5 hour mark though. You guys have got a chance to learn a lot about us, not just about why we wrote the stories we wrote, what Ally kind of is for us, and just a lot of fun facts and fun information about us, man. Like, I hope you've enjoyed it, and if not,
And about bananas.
yeah, and if you've not enjoyed it, that does not sound like a me problem, so I'm good.
Spell bananas. BANANAS. Bananas.
I only remember how to spell it because of that fucking song. I'm not gonna lie. I sometimes forget how to spell it.
I have faith that you would be able to spell bananas anyway.
It's one of those
I'm
words
pretty sure you
I
can
add
do
an extra N in when it doesn't need to be, so I have to stop and think of the song, and I fucking hate that song. But like I dislike that song so much, like when I hear it, like I think about how to spell the word bananas for like months afterwards. So I'll never be able to forget that.
mine is the Minions. Ba 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 na na.
I detest the Minions. Like I fucking hate the Minions, man. Like I get shit here because everyone in the household loves the Minions. Oh, there's a new Despicable Me. I'm like, oh, I love Gru. Gru's right up my alley, but fuck everybody else. Their language irritates me to no end. And my wife and daughter keep saying, what's an actual language? You can understand. No, you fucking can't. Oh, yes, you can. Well, this one's saying this. I'm like, show me proof. And I'm like, you understand that this is like a combination of like basically gobbledygook and multiple other languages being ran in together. And it is not its own language, but they're swearing to me daily that it is.
They have
They
made
can obviously
translation.
speak it. I mean, like, don't yuck their yum, man.
Listen,
I
I know what Dell's talking about.
They have
get
an ability you
programmed
could only dream of having.
No, I wasn't going to say anything about Minions, but they have made Simlish into a language enough because they have actual. Pardon me a second here. They have actual rock stars and musicians that are like big, that they have them record their own songs in Simlish so they can put it into The Sims, which to me is just like, and you watch these videos and they're like, yeah, they just gave me all these random syllables and stuff to sing my song to, and
yeah. Well, people think because during one of the Minions Despicable Me movies, whatever, They actually did this thing where you could download this app on your phone, and while you were in the theater, the very ending, it would like play like it was translating what the minions were saying. It was all completely programmed app. It would never work at any other point in the movie, only during this one small part of the movie. And because of that, people magically started thinking on the internet that it was an actual language, and a translator had been built for the entire language, and it said a couple of words, not even enough for you to like turn into a language. But people
like banana means banana
means doorstop. It should be, yeah. But yeah, it's one of those weird things.
So yeah, coming up on. Oh yeah, we're at 2 hours and 40 minutes, guys.
Yeah, I think we're safe to wrap. Talk about where we can find each other and whatnot.
Where shall we start?
I'll start.
Let's start with Steve.
Okay. My name's Steve Ann Samson. You can find me on Facebook. You can find my work various places over the internet and various booksellers. Also, go to roughhousepublishing.com and follow our progress, because we're going to be making lots of posts. Follow the account on Facebook. Anyway, that's a good place to do it. And be on the lookout for Gore Shriek #3. It is coming out. Gore Shriek Resurrectus #3. We're working on that right now. And I got some really exciting stuff in the works, for sure. I just sent off a novella to a publisher who's supposed to be reading it right now. So this was kind of like the same one who put out my last book, which was Year of the Rattlesnake. So this was kind of, on spec, kind of, and so, I fingers crossed though, we'll see what happens, but, it's been really cool hanging out with you guys, and very proud to be a part of this anthology, and I hope everybody out there gets themselves a copy and enjoys the heck out of it, and it's going to a good cause. So yeah, all good stuff.
Hell yeah.
And the Kickstarter, says Stefan.
Yes.
So we're gonna have a whole episode about that.
Oh, and listen to Retro Redoctopus, because we're awesome. And we're in our 6th year, and we put out an episode every other week at least, but it's been more than that this season. And we've already had a lot of fun. We just recorded our first part of a 2-part X-Men cartoon episode. The first part is going to air a week from this Tuesday. And then we're going to have that week, there's going to actually be both parts are going to come out that week, and it's going to be really fun. We went through and we each picked an episode of each of the big 4 X-Men cartoon shows. So the one from the 90s, and then the X-Men Evolution, and then Wolverine and the X-Men, and X-Men 97. And so we split it up. We did 2 and 2, and we have a separate guest for each episode. And it was really fun recording the first one. We're going to record the second one next week. And I have an episode of our interview show, The Brig, which is with our very good friend Josh Nealis, who runs Cutthroat Comics, and he writes novels as well. And this is actually his 3rd appearance on the show. He's a good friend, and his episode actually comes out this Tuesday. So lots of good stuff going on at Retro Redoctopus. If you like goofy guys talking about nostalgia and things they loved when they were kids, and also we get to talk to awesome people just like you guys do, and it's always fun talking to fellow creatives about stuff. Give us a listen. We are everywhere, and we're on the Dorkening.
Mm-hmm. Stefan wants to know, is it 8-bit?
It is 8-bit. 8-bit is there. 8-bit Alchemy. He's one of our hosts.
All right. I'm going to pick up real quick. You can find me under Kari. You don't put the Leigh in. Well, you put the Leigh in if you want to see my author page, but if you just put Kari Sanders in on Facebook, you'll find all my links to everything, to my author pages, to the Owlite stuff, to the Dorkening stuff. I'm on Splash Pages on Tuesday nights there. But check this out. And what Stefan was talking about too, Raz Steve, and I will be in a Kickstarter coming out with Fractured Mind Publishing for the new release of More Lore from the Mythos Volume 1, which I can't pull because it's under the bottom of my whole stack here and I would destroy it. But we're coming out with some cool stuff for that, and that will have a show on as well. You got it back to? I can't reach it, but yeah. And if you find me, you can send stuff out to me, and most of the time Jenny will get back in touch with you for me, unless you send me to my regular page, in which case I will get back in touch with you. Patty, where can we find you?
Well, if you're looking for Patty, I'm everywhere Patty Mouse. If you're looking for Serena, she's everywhere Serenity Falls. If you're looking for Fae Corps, we're usually Fae Corps everywhere. I try to keep it simple. And usually Jenny's handling all three. I don't know what I'd do without her, honestly. But we do have both faecorppublishing.com and faecorppublishing.org, so either one. And we're pretty easy to find.
Amina, where can we find you?
So, funnily enough, you can find me at the Amina Raziel author page on Facebook. You can find me at Amina Raziel on Facebook. If you need to contact me, feel free, but please realize you're probably talking to Jenny. She runs all my stuff social media-wise there. I do not have an author page yet because my work schedule sucks and I'm never home, so I haven't made one yet. So everything you can find about me right now is on Facebook, and if you contact it, Jenny will either answer the question that you have or she will refer it to me and I will get you an answer. But that's where you can find me for right now.
All right. Quick update from Stefan. Cloth case and paperbacks of the new book have been ordered. Picks will be coming soon.
Oh, yeah.
Could be with these guys again. I love it. Ron, where can we find you?
You down with FCP? Yeah, you know me.
I just died inside.
What's happening?
My mouth feels strange.
Your mouth feels strange. Ooh, let's put that to a test, shall we? Wow, where can you find me? I am also with Fae Corps and Light and all that, and do random periodic shows as my availability permits. So you can find me as well, also through Jenny, since she's pretty good at that kind of stuff. I do have an author page, Ronald W. Gillespie Jr. -author on Facebook, if you want to keep in touch and follow all of my writing thoughts and tidbits and things of that nature. I am also on TikTok as @WolfDojo. I make martial arts related content. I have been posting a little bit more lately there than anywhere else. So if that's the kind of thing that you're into, you can follow me there. Otherwise, I'll probably be just behind Raz because he'll tell you where he'll be, and I'll be waiting for my plate.
Raz.
You can find me at rastslasher.com or wherever toys are sold now with Kung Fu Action Grip. You can find me at your mom's house every morning because I'm there for the pancakes, and me and Ron, it's a whole thing. It's all about the syrup. You gotta have the right syrup. There's a crisis going on in our country, and it's all about the syrup. Otherwise, you can find me on all your favorite social media platforms. You're probably talking to Jenny, the #1 Rasty Slasher cosplayer in the world. You can also find me on Slasher. I run my own on the Slasher. If you don't know Slasher, man, it's an amazing social media app. Started off on phones. It's made its way into actual PCs and Macs now. It's a great, huge horror community for everything you're into involving horror. So definitely go check that out if you're not over there yet. Otherwise, you can find me here randomly most of the time on the Light Network, and already hard at work down at the dungeon, at Hell's Dungeon, getting things built for the season. So we're really excited to announce a lot of big changes down there and so many new things happening.
And Jenny, besides
Well, as
being
you
all of
can
us, where can we find you?
I am everywhere. I'm Fae Corps. I'm at Elliott. I'm all of them. But also, if you actually really honestly want to read my stuff and see me, you can find me at Friday with the Library in the Blue Box. And you can also find me at my actual author page, Jennifer Elliott. But otherwise, I'm going to pretend I'm them and hopefully I'm doing a good job.
There was a couple documentaries and movies made about her. You can find them all under the title Sybil.
Exactly.
All right.
Later in a movie.
So, guys, like us, follow us, subscribe to us, do all those wonderful things. We would love it. We're trying to provide you a lot more content. This book is something that we're really excited about releasing. We've been working on it and we've missed a couple of weeks, which is what happens when you play D&D or any kind of role-playing game. Something always comes up, but we are working on making some better content for you over there. So if you notice our Twitch page, we would really like some extra follows going on that. So we can do things like interactive with you there. That's the point for things there. But keep an eye out for stuff. We're going to be getting this book out. We're going to have another podcast where we're going to cover the stuff we were talking about with Stefan, as well as, once again, one more time before we leave tonight, the folks with Proliteracy. We're going to have them on and have them explain everything that they do and how this whole program and collaboration with them is going to work. So thank you all very much for coming tonight, and take care. Have a good night.
Mostly, we really want you to like us. It's good for our egos.